There once was a man named Gold Roger who was king of the pirates. He had fame, power, and wealth beyond your wildest dreams. Before they hung him from the gallows, these were the final words he said.
Our perspective is yours for the taking, but you'll have to join us first. We left everything we debated at the Yonkō Table.
Ever since, pirates from all over the world set sail for the Grand Line, searching for the Yonkō Table, the table that will make their dreams come true. Yo, folks. That is the voice of your Yonkō host, DrJaceAttorney, and we have set sail yet again towards the Grand Line for our One Piece Chronicles episode. If you guys tuned in last week, we left off on part 1 of our Water 7 voyage. We covered everything from landfall on Water 7 all the way up to the CP9 reveal. And for those of you that took a listen to our episode last week, there was a lot to cover. There was Usopp versus Luffy. There was the Franky family coming in, the Gali Law Company and their introduction, Iceberg, and there was just a lot to digest. And as we mentioned last week, this is why we're splitting up the Water 7 saga into, digestible portions so that you guys can manage the hefty load that Water 7 gives us. So right now we're picking up where we left off last week with the CP9 reveal, and we got some greatness to talk about with Usopp and Franky. But before we get into it, with me as always is fellow Yonkō GrandMasterHoop. Grandmaster, are you a fan of this middle portion of Water 7 as a whole?
I would say the middle portion has a strong beginning, a strong finish, with sporadic moments throughout, but I don't think anything really tops part 1 yet. Part 1, it was, again, as we said, great setup for what is to come. And if we're just talking about the Water 7 arc, the first half of the Water 7 arc is superior than the last half. Because again, it's we're now in a transition mode, and we'll see that, but that doesn't mean there isn't good throughout. There is still some good, and we'll get into it. So, but yes, part 1 so far, number 1.
Part 1 is the GOAT, but with us as well to digest part 2 of Water 7, our fellow Supernovas and Admirals here to discuss today. And let's get into it. So last week, we left off on the CP9 reveal. They laid out all their cards. They played the Straw Hats like a fiddle, and they're basically boarding the Puffing Tom to leave off to Enies Lobby with Robin. At the same time, there's Aqua Laguna about to lay waste to the city, so to speak. It's going to destroy some portions of it. It's their most severe Aqua Laguna ever, supposedly.
Yeah, something like that. It's the worst they've ever seen it.
Right. And what a coincidence, because you have Zoro lost somewhere. We don't know where Zoro is. We don't know where Luffy is. So once we have that CP9 reveal and Nami is basically told that Robin did not betray the crew, now everyone's shifting gears. Now the workers at Galileo, they know the Straw Hats were not the assassins that tried to take out Iceberg. And now they're going around the city trying to help the Straw Hats, because that's the order of Iceberg, right? To try and help find the Straw Hats, because they all got sent off in different directions.
Well, not only that, but Iceberg knows they're going to be after Franky.
Correct. Cuddy Flam,
right.
Is it Flam or Flam?
Oh my gosh, it doesn't matter.
Such a stupid name.
You watch they acknowledge in
they say Cuddy Flam.
It's such a dumb name. Franky's such a better name.
It really is. I don't know who named that. Well, his parents, obviously, but they pieced together that Cuddy Flam is Franky, and so it's kind of like a double objective: find the Straw Hats, find the missing Straw Hats, and find Franky.
Well, the stakes that Galileo has in this is Iceberg's relationship with Franky, and the fact that those plans, if they get a hold of those plans, the plans to which they revealed, it's Pluton, the blueprints, right?
Pluton, yes.
The Pluton blueprints,
the ancient weapon.
Yeah, they have a lot of, skin in this game as well. You got to stop those plans from reaching the world government. So, right. But mainly I think it's to rescue Franky as well.
Of course. And, you know, they're basically just going around the city, having a shouting match, trying to just calling out Luffy and Zoro's name. As we mentioned last week, Luffy is stuck again in between two buildings. He's sandwiched in between them. Zoro had an interesting scenario. So Zoro is stuck down a chimney. And the reason why that's funny is because if you remember correctly, when Lucci and Kaku sent them flying, Zoro landed in the water. So the question is, well, why is Zoro stuck in a chimney now? That question was presented to Oda in these SBS corners. And funny enough, his little story about that is, you know, it's very obvious that he just forgot that Zoro was left in the water as opposed to a chimney. But Oda, being Oda, he's like, oh yeah, no, Zoro fell into the water and he was making his way out and he was, you know, hopping across the buildings, trying to make his way back to Galila. And he just went across the chimney and he said, hey, what's down this chimney? And he just fell head first. Because then someone followed that up with, that doesn't make any sense. If he just slipped and fell in the chimney, he should be feet first in the chimney instead of face down. And then so Oda's like, oh, no, he just looked down. He was curious and he slipped and fell. And so he's stuck in a chimney.
I always just took it as he got lost, so lost that he ended up in a chimney. That's what I took it as.
It's Oda once again needing to, I mean, I hate to call it out, but it is what it is. He needs to kind of trap certain characters so he can move the plot along. I mean, I'm not even using that as a criticism. It's just like, it's what needs to happen. You can't have Luffy and Zoro kind of like messing things up at all the time. He needs a pause here, because not only is, you know, the townspeople searching for Luffy and Zoro at this moment, they're also, you know, CP9's going after Franky at this moment. It's like,
right.
It's time to finally get Cuddy Flam, get the blueprints. They got Robin. They're ready to go home before Aqua Laguna commences.
That they are. And I mean, even, you know, you have this scene where Nami finds, because I think it was Chopper found Zoro.
Chopper found Zoro.
Luffy. And what was it? I think Chopper thought Zoro was like a, oh my God, I'm gonna be like Nemo in this. Jesus, an anemone. And yes, an anemone.
Oh, right.
Yes,
right.
he thought, because, you know, you have Zoro's feet and then he has the 3 scabbards from his sword, so it kind of looks like a plant. I don't know. It's weird. It's funny. Oda humor. So Nami's telling Luffy basically at that point, Luffy, why are you fooling around? Don't you know that Robin did all of this for us? She did not betray us. So get your head out of your ass and stop clowning around. The guy looks silly. He's sandwiched between 2 buildings. And then at that point, Luffy he splits the building in half with his own arms. He literally he unsticks himself by dislodging the building with pure strength alone. I think that's a testament to how committed they are now to saving Robin. Because he didn't do that before when he got stuck the first time. He just kind of dislodged himself. So, Nami saves Luffy. No, not Usopp. Chopper saves Zoro.
Yeah, he was stuck in the chimney. I was going to say, right. Zoro was stuck.
He gives him one of his swords and then he slices through.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of like an Aqua Laguna, I guess, climax a little bit. It's like, oh, will they survive Aqua Laguna? Look out, it's a big wave. And I mean, it was fine.
Hold on. There's so much going on. I hate to do this, but man,
the layers.
This is such a jam-packed. There's such a jam-packed. Because like before all this, like before Nami finds Luffy, Nami's going to try to stop the train.
Oh, correct, with Paulie and the rest of them, the rest of Galila.
This is huge. Hold on. Should we do Franky's backstory? Because when Nami's going to stop the train, Franky's already on board, you know?
Is he on? Well, wait.
Yes, Franky, when they all board the train, when CP9 boards the train, they have Franky in tow.
They have Franky and Robin.
No, Robin's already there. Remember, she'd been
Yeah.
left.
She's
Right.
been left. She's
So
been
now
left.
they got, so yes, the backstory takes place before they get on the train. Because they come to interrogate Franky, and what? They know it's him. Obviously, Franky is hiding out in Tom's workers' old little shipping yard, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
which is also very sweet. You know, that he still holds that very dear. And then, you know, as we talked about, Usopp and Franky are kind of having a bro moment.
A little heart to heart.
Right.
Really
Franky,
nice moment.
Right.
Franky opens his eye, opens Usopp's eyes to, you know, yeah, your ship is irreparable.
Bam!
Uh,
Slams him into that water.
right. And then Usopp, you know, realizes it, but at this point, he's still trying to fix the Mary because he can't go back to the Straw Hats at this point. You know, despite realizing that the Mary can't be fixed, at this rate, he's cut ties with Luffy and them. So here he is hammering away. And before CP9 shows up, I believe Franky drops the knowledge of the Klaubertaram.
Yes.
Oh, that mouthful. The
That-
spirit.
The spirit,
Yes.
which is funny enough. I looked this up. This is like a Danish or like a Scandinavian folk.
It's
lore.
based off of a lot of cultures because some like there's some German sailors that have that story. Japan
Yes.
has their own too.
Right,
yeah.
but the name itself, yeah, I think it's like Scandinavian, or it's from the Baltic states. So do what you want with that. I think it's important to mention because it dials back to Skypiea, where Usopp saw that figure working on the ship. You know, and what did it laugh? It laughed at him the first time and said, "I can take y'all just a little bit longer."
Right.
Right. And so it's basically the Mary, obviously. It's like a Clobbertone took the form of the Mary, and now that's the Mary. Usopp was talking to the Mary. The Mary has a spirit. The Mary is alive. And it's what when you get one, when you form a bond with your ship or something, right?
Right. Do you think it was a bit of an ass pull on Oda's part, where like now the ship is more like a character, more so than before?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's an ass pull because he set this back up in Skypiea.
But that's what I
But-
mean. It took Skypiea for him to do that. But before Skypiea, like you're talking about Alabasta, Arlong, East Blue, just Oda's never established because like obviously from Skypiea onward, it felt more like the Mary was a crew member rather than how it was before, where they still cared for the Mary, but it was just the ship that got them along to the next island.
I think it's kind of I don't know what you call it in literary terms, but the Mary was always a character. It's just the focus was never on the Mary. It's only when the Mary was in trouble or hurt did the Mary become a primary focus. But the Mary has been with them since, you know, day 3, whichever was Syrup Village. You know, the Mary was always a character. It's just now it's not like they neglected the Mary, but they neglected the Mary's character per se. But that's
It
kind of
definitely feels. I was just gonna say that it definitely feels like Oda discovered this concept, you know, not from the beginning of One Piece. Like it feels like he discovered throughout some time getting into One Piece and was like, oh, that'd be a cool idea to bring into the story. And then he eventually kind of was able to weave it in there where it doesn't feel like he's pulling it out of his ass, but you know, probably wasn't there page 1 of his first panel.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say it was there page 1.
Right.
I think, yeah, while writing, he's like, oh my gosh, this is a character. The Mary's been
You
through
realize
hell
it.
and back with these characters. You
No,
know?
yeah, and I mean, I only ask too because like I've seen the discourse in the One Piece community where usually people praise this element of the story, but there's a small vocal minority that considers, oh yeah, the Mary was an asshole. Well, the Mary as a character is an asshole. I don't think that, but
Yeah, I don't buy it. I do believe, yeah, it was probably a late introduction concept, but I feel the breadcrumbs were always there.
No,
eventually...
it was okay, and it was an ass pull because
no,
because what should have happened, they should have kept the theme going. They did for literally a second, and then you never hear the spirit or whatever the hell this is supposed to be ever again, like in the story.
Oh, you mean
like,
with as far as the Sunny goes? You're getting a little ahead of yourself.
No. I'm just saying, I'm not getting ahead. I'm just saying, looking ahead, it's not spoiling anything to say you're never going to see like these spirits like this, like these ship spirits ever again like that. Like they're not yet. They're not main plot points. They don't mean anything. Literally, they mean absolutely nothing. So
I don't think they have to be a main plot point.
No, but that they should, because the Mary just came back out of nowhere. Like you can't just like the ship would landed on Water 7 and like it would like we're gonna get there. But I'm just saying, like all the stunts that the Mary keeps pulling is like, come on. Oh my God! It came out of literally the sky.
I mean, it is kind of funny how like when CP9 does get to Franky and Usopp where they're at, I think it was Kaku or something. He was like, why didn't you trash this ship when I told you to? We gave you an accurate assessment. Here, let me do it for you. And that's when he's like lowering the gate for the Mary to like slip out. And it's like, okay, the ship fell God knows how far into the abyss. And
literally.
It should have been destroyed. But, I mean...
It is destroyed.
Well, no, it was...
Right there.
Aqua Laguna have flooded everything, so...
Yeah.
It landed in the water.
Just
and
gently.
It got wrecked.
Just softly.
Got wrecked.
No, it definitely took damage, but, you know, we didn't get to see that aftermath.
That ship's out of there. We're not seeing that ship again.
Nothing some super glue can fix, you know.
But also that was
some hammers, some nails.
See, when I tell you, I sometimes go back and forth between dub and sub for the more emotional
for One Piece?
Yes.
Or just in general?
One Piece, because I'm curious to how the voice acting is in the dub. But I'm telling you, during the high emotional bits, I always put on the subs. Usopp crying is one of like the saddest vocal performances you'll ever hear. It's moving. He's, you know, begging them to not hurt the Mary.
But Sunny Straight doesn't sell it for you?
No. No. Sorry. It's okay.
Destructo Disc.
No. I mean, he's not bad. It's not
as good. No, I get it.
Yeah, I know the emotional bits are better in sub.
Right.
I just wanted to point out, I forgot, we did not mention this. The imagery of the Mary crying during the Usopp Luffy fight.
Oh, when the rain kind of comes down.
Oh my God. Mary's a character. It's not an ass pull.
Yeah, it's
a character now.
This is all good stuff. When it's like, when it hits emotionally like this, I give it a pass. I don't care.
Yeah, it would. I would be more like, you know, harsh on it if it was just kind of like empty themes and, you know, it didn't ultimately go anywhere. I think the moments they needed to sell did sell. It was really good.
It was cute. I'm not gonna say
it was cute.
Like,
Damn, it's more than that comic.
Like it fit. Like the Going Mary having this, like at the time, like watching it, like, you know, in the present, you know, of the show. Yeah, it fit. It was perfect. But later on, now talking about this, it's like, all right, like, you know, didn't think about it, but this kind of is an ass pull.
Chris, your team tie all the Marvel products back to the bigger universe. all the One Piece.
Where is Hulk smashing in from the ceiling? Where is Akainu slashing?
Where are the Clobber Toms at Raftel? Where are they?
I'm just saying, to the point of it being considered an ass pull, there is truth to that. Like, you can't, like, there's a reason why it was called an ass pull, not at the time, but why it's called that now. So I was just, you know, giving my perspective of why it probably is that, because it did feel that way, and it is that way.
Sure.
Listen, either way, with the Mary being a character, she's basically gone for quite a while.
Yeah.
Once she drops into the ocean, for the next 50-ish chapters, you're led to believe, yo, Mary's dead. Mary's gone. She is gone. You're never seeing that hunk of wood ever. Because from there, that's when they transition into the Franky backstory. At this point, I feel like they make it a bit more obvious that, you know, Franky is going to be the next crew member of the Straw Hats. You're going into heavy backstory at this point, and it's at least like 5-6 chapters or so of like flashbacks with like Franky, Iceberg, Tom.
I think outside of Franky, of course, he's a crew member. He's going to be the only person to get like a in-depth backstory who wasn't a crew member was Vivi, who everybody thought would eventually become a crew member. So
right,
if you get a heavy backstory, that's kind of the formula right now.
It practically is. And what's the clock? It goes back 20 years, right? 20 years?
Franky is
I believe so.
Franky's 28. It takes them 10 years to build the Puffing Tom. Yeah,
10 years. Yeah, 20-ish years. Let's say
20-ish years.
Well, actually,
a couple decades.
No, it's not 20 years. I know the math on it. I'm so sorry. It's about 4 years after Roger has passed, I think.
So has 4 years.
That's 20 years.
22 years ago.
22 years ago. So.
22 years ago.
And it's do you know if it's 4 years after Roger has passed?
I don't think it was 4 years, because I remember there was a line somewhere that said the King of the Pirates passed away recently.
Yeah. So yeah, it was like the other day.
Right.
So yeah, let's get into it. It's we jump back, we see a younger Iceberg, we see like Kid Franky, we see a big old fish man named Tom.
Tom the Builder. He's what kind of fish he is? He's got a
cowfish.
A cowfish.
Yeah.
Cowfish.
Okay.
Yeah. So you meet Tom. Water 7 is not this like grand, spectacular place anymore. It's kind of like on the decline. They're kind of having trouble with trade at this moment. And so during this time, I guess like the King of the Pirates, Goldie Roger, who is Goldie right at this moment.
Yeah,
he's Goldie.
Yeah,
so
Korea revealed that. Or they revealed it too when she saw the poneglyphs in Skypia.
Yeah, so Goldie is taken out, and they're rounding up anybody who was involved with them. They're like, Tom, you built his ship. You got to go down for this. Tom sweet talks his way through. He's like, hey, what if I build a sea train, a train that goes over the water and connects Water 7 to all these other towns, Enies Lobby, and kind of like, revitalize all these islands, revitalize Water
with a
7.
boom.
It was not Enies Lobby. That was their input. They said,
yes. Can it go to Enies Lobby as well?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and how many years they say? Like 10?
10 years. He says it'd take them 10 years to finish.
Yeah. And so they're like, all right, fine. Then we'll reevaluate your sentence after that, after you build it. We'll see, we'll see how we feel then. And at least in the manga, there's some pretty cool panels. Like Oda doesn't often do summary panels of just kind of like clips without dialogue.
It's like montage.
Yeah, a little montage. It's cool seeing in, art form. Yeah, so they showed that, and it's like Franky and Iceberg working on it.
Well, you have to mention prior that Franky makes ships. He's a shipbuilder. He's a shipwright.
He's a battleship builder. This is true. This is
important.
The battle Frankies, like battle Frankies.
He keeps making weapons. He keeps making weapons, and not only that, he doesn't care about their existence. He's just kind of like, I won't use them for bad, so what does it matter? And Iceberg is kind of like, yo, for these weapons just to be out in the world is a bad thing, so they're kind of like very different on those points.
Moronki.
Oh, Guy hated these nicknames they gave each other. They were so dumb.
The English one gives them better ones that are
the
like,
English
make more
one.
sense.
I was reading it in English.
No, like I guess the Funimation dub gives it.
So what were they saying?
Oh gosh, I don't even remember. But it's
Because
not
the ones I was
it's-
reading was like Stupid Berg.
Yeah, it's not
Stupid.
Moronki. It's not Moronki. I don't remember,
God,
but it's
I hate it. I would wince. I would wince every time. Cause like, you know, like this is post like, you know, clapbacks with like Sanji and Zoro. You know, Sanji calls him Mosshead. Okay, that's funny because his hair is green, and calling it just a clump of moss is an insult. But all they do is just get an insult like stupid or dumbass, and then they just add their name, the last syllable to their name at the
it's
end.
funny.
Of it.
They're not good at insults. I don't know. It works in their favor. I don't know.
Goodness. But right, Tom was the shipwright, or no, the shipbuilder. He built the
he
ship.
was not. He built their ship. He wasn't part of their crew.
Ship, the Oro Jackson.
The Oro Jackson.
And I think this is the first time we hear about the ship.
Yeah. No, we
Roger.
never knew the name of the ship before.
Okay. So we hear about you know, the Oro Jackson, and you know, the government decides to stay his execution for helping the King of the Pirates, and he has to build the railway. And I do like the montage scene where, you know, you see the panels of like all the little failed parts that they put together, and like sometimes they would get frustrated because you see them build like a train, but then it explodes or it sinks in the ocean. So it was a lot of trial and error, but I like the panel that Oda devotes to like at the end when the sea train does actually get formed, because it's like a ray of light that's shining onto Water 7, because this is the ship, or this is the train that's going to change the fate of that island. Because before it was terrible. Yeah, people robbing each other, people starving in the streets, trade was at an all-time low, and this ship was, I keep calling it a ship because it sails the damn ocean. This train is going to change the world for those people as they know it.
And the government recognizes this. When the government
They do.
shows up, they kind of got a good government guy on their side. He's, you know, he's
fair.
He's fair. He's not your Akainu saying criminal scum,
Yeah.
Right.
execute.
He
he shows up, and you kind of get the vibe that he's going to. They're impressed by what they've been able to accomplish, and it looks like they're going to be a little more gentle with our friend Tom here. Except somebody else shows up.
Well, I think.
Okay, hold on. Let me just say this. Let me get this off my chest.
Well, no, you're missing a part. You know, they do.
Fine, you go, and then I gotta get something off my chest.
They do. So a couple of things happen. It's not right away. They're about to pass judgment. They run a test of the train, and the train passes the test. And so his judgment is not until a couple of days later. You know, it's not all the same day.
Not all the same day.
Yeah. So go ahead. Day one after the train is a success. Now you can take it.
Well,
I was just going to say.
Real quick, hold on. I'm sorry.
I gotta get something off my chest.
There's kid versions. There's kid versions of Paulie and Kiwa or Kui.
The girls, the twins, right?
The twins. Like there's
Kiwi,
kid versions of
Mozu.
them. You see them in the background. I thought that was kind of cool because
that was cool. That was
like
cool.
Yeah, you see them as kids and they get excited with the sea train. I think that convinces Paulie as well to become a shipwright, seeing that train sail across the ocean.
Oh,
So,
definitely, yeah.
We'll definitely.
Take it away, Hooper.
All right, I was just gonna say, one of the most hated, vile characters in all of One Piece, and I'm not really, running through a list that I've created right now.
He's at the top.
I think this character's
at the top.
number one most despicable villain in the history of One Piece. I think I have him number one right now. Ooh, and there's some competitors up there that are now coming to me, but like, if he's not one, definitely top three. This guy stinks. This guy's the worst. I hate him. I hate him.
What's his name?
Yeah, come on now.
What's the name?
Spandam?
Spanda.
No, that's what Franky calls
I know
him.
Franky calls him that. There's an M at the end, you moron.
It's wild that they
Spandam.
introduce like these cool CP9 villains and then put at the top like this just despicable human being. Just the worst. Just the worst.
He's
Horrible.
He's really
he gets
terrible.
he gets what he deserves though. It's okay.
his
I mean,
name.
he does, but then we'll get into it later.
Yeah.
His
he
name
heals.
reminds me of Spam. So like, the Spam ham, it's like fake ham. So it kind of like, he's fake himself. I don't know. That was kind of like the two things that I pieced together with his name. I was like, his name kind of reminds me of Spam. And Spam.
But he was a great representation of how fucked up the Marines truly are. Like how far they will take things. Like
the Marines or the world government? Which one?
Well, I mean,
He's world government, right?
Well, the
Yeah,
Navy's
he's
world
the
government.
Navy's an
but-
extension of
Yeah,
world government.
But Cypher Pole though works directly under the world government, not the Navy.
But the thing is, it doesn't matter. World government, cyberpool, doesn't matter. They're
Well, I
all
think it's-
really fucked up.
I think
you don't think so?
I think it does matter when you talk about who sits at the top and how the orders trickle down.
Well,
like
I was talking about ethics. Like,
I know he's unethical, but I think he's more of a representation of the world government versus the Marines, because we have seen just Marines. From what we've seen from the world government, they are the worst. Out of all the factions, yes, the Marines are an extension, but the world government itself, we have not been given any kind of, good or bad. It's all been bad. And
Except that judge almost came to Tom's rescue.
Except that judge, but then he shows up and he's a reminder of what's really like the motive here.
And what is he hunting for? He
comes and talks to Tom and he's like, Tom, I need the blueprint. I need the weapon, the blueprints to the ancient weapon. Tom just laughs in his face, says, I've never even heard of it. I don't know what you're talking about. You got to get out of here. Spandam doesn't accept this as an answer. And then I want to say the next page, the next clip is Tom being like, hey boys, check this out.
Oh, wait, hold on. Before that, it's funny because going to Grandmaster Hoop's point about them being two separate entities, they are, because before Spandam leaves, he threatens Tom by saying, if you don't give me those blueprints, I'm going to report you to the government and tell them that you built the Oro Jackson. I'm going to report you that you helped Goldie Roger. And Tom laughs at his face saying, they already know that, dude. Like, what do you mean? I'm already going to get pardoned. And Spandam doesn't believe it. He's like, wait, if they know, why aren't you arrested? Like, what's going on here? So that just goes to show, like, there's kind of like a line of communication that's almost severed between those entities. You have the world government, you have the Navy, and they're not all on the same page with everything. They kind of just act on their own accords, or you could just call it bad intel.
I think Spandam's also, poor at his job. I think that's I don't think he's the best. He seems he's what's it called when you're like family member? He's nepotism. He's a nepotism baby, which we'll get to.
Yeah,
right.
He is.
Right.
Which we don't learn.
We haven't learned yet, but
But he's also he is the pinnacle of ambition. He's overly ambitious. His plans are
in all the wrong ways.
Right, overly ambitious in the wrong ways. Like, he knows Tom has these plans, and he will stop at nothing. And backstab, lie, cheat, scam to make sure he gets what he wants.
This is for justice. This is just that's a word, and I'm telling you, I like
that's a key word in this.
I think it's a key word in this arc as a whole. Like the entirety of Water 7, Enies Lobby is the concept of justice, because a lot of the times you have Spandam, lying and cheating and doing all these terrible things, in the present, and then also in this flashback. But sometimes he backs that up with, this is all in the name of justice. And it's like, wow, that's the justification.
I think it was a twisted way to justify how the world government moves. But I think because you see the swordsman uses that as well. Like, you know, a lot of the Marines have used that line, like the justice line.
Oh yeah.
And I think you could tell they really try to separate showing the difference between like the ones that are truly screwed in the head, and then the ones that actually do stand for something. Like they are, you know, actually meaningful fighters. Like the one swordsman on the Navy that runs on the train. Runs on the
T-Bone.
Oh, he has a similar line and I think that's like they're like trying to show
genuine.
It was a genuine moment, but you can tell they like this kind of effed up shit that they say in their head, like they say to themselves to be relatable as far as like, oh, I'm justice just like everybody else, but this is not the same. You are pretty evil. You're as evil as they come.
Everybody defines justice in their own way in this series, and that is kind of the great writing that
dark justice.
Right. Nobody has a clear definition of justice. Everybody works for their own motives.
Absolute justice.
And it just depends on who they run into. So here we have Spandam.
Important to know about Spandam, he is the director at this time of Cyberpol 5.
Five.
And that's important because they established early on that there are 8 cipher poles spread out across the world, and I think it's established across the 8 kingdoms of the world. Is that what it is? Like each kingdom has a cipher pole, basically. How do you call it? Like an informative group of people that kind of like are a direct line to the world government and the people of that kingdom. I thought that's how it worked.
I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to look at
it. Maybe
I need to look it up again because that's where the twist comes in, where Cypher Pole 9 comes in. They're like, we're not listed anywhere. Like we are a secret organization that is the extension of the hand of justice of the government. You're not going to read about us in any textbook or anything. So you have Spandam, the leader of Cypher Pole 5, and he basically concocts a scheme to get the blueprints from Tom, and part of that scheme involves on the Day of Judgment, right? So Tom is going to the judicial ship to get his sentencing, and they make it a key point to show the judge off camera kind of saying, yeah, the sea train's really cool. It's a success. I cannot wait to basically expel the execution of Tom. So you already know going in, before the sentencing was gonna take place, the judge was gonna say, yeah, man, the sea train is goated. It's goat. Like you're free to go. Don't worry about.
There was townspeople too that were like amassing the buzz that Tom's gonna get off. He's gonna be set free.
Oh yeah, they were convinced.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But of course, as we know from Franky's his hobbies, those battleships, he keeps leaving them. He keeps leaving them around. And on the day they're heading to the judicial ship, all of a sudden it starts getting bombarded, right, by artillery fire. And no one knows who's doing it, why they're doing it. And it's basically revealed that it's the battle Frankies. The townspeople start recognizing it. They're like, aren't those Franky's battleships? What's going on here, man? And so what? Don't Iceberg and Franky get into like a fit before they arrive?
Well, so I think it destroys the judge ship. If not,
it does.
Right. But not only that, Tom gets like impaled by
a harpoon.
Right. He gets like impaled. So yes. Because Franky's like, what the hell? Because Franky sees the ship and he's like, yo, what's going on?
I didn't do that.
And then so yes, Iceberg gets in Franky's face saying, this is why you can't leave them around, Franky. You built weapons, they hurt people. you know. And it's kind of it's actually really well how this scene plays out, because you have Iceberg who's telling him, you know, you built weapons, this is your fault, you know, you need to take ownership in this. But he's also trying to, you know, say like, now you ruined Tom's chances or whatnot. But like Tom, because what Franky said, what he says he's going to say, he never built them, those weren't his creations.
He said he disowns them.
He disowns them, right.
And Tom hits him, right? Like,
no, Tom beats the shit out of him.
Oh, in the manga, he just punches him.
No, I swear he gave him like at least a couple of good punches.
These are fishman punches too.
Right, fishmen are strong, like supernaturally strong. Maybe it was one punch. But that one punch was like you could feel it, you know. Like,
no, I agree. It's
like you're not supposed to walk back from that punch.
He dislocated his jaw. He should have spun his neck around or something. This is pre-cyborg Franky. He's not a cyborg.
No, he's not.
He's just a normal human and he eats a fishman punch.
So what? Tom now gives his words of wisdom about, you know, the ship is your child and you should never disown your children, never disown your creation. It does not matter what your creation is used for. The moment you forsake a ship, I equate it to the whole Kakashi and Obito thing, saying you're worse than scum. That's essentially what Tom was saying.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Those who abandon their ships are worse than scum.
Right.
That's basically how I took it. Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, that's what he's saying.
I mean,
because,
yeah.
You know, parallels. Tom made the Oral Jackson, had no idea what the Pirate King was going to do, but that doesn't stop him from loving the ship, you know?
Right.
And so he wants Franky to own that as a shipwright. But it's weird because what happens? The judge, at this point,
they don't even worry about going to, I think, pardon him.
Well, no, I think they re-sentence. It's a different.
Well, it's like Tom decides, I want the fall. I want to. It has nothing to do with those boys.
Oh, okay, you're right. He says,
put it on me.
Well, he says, yes, he says, forget the sea train, so you don't arrest Franky. Yeah. I'll take the fall for the Oral Jackson.
No, for the battleships.
No, for the battleships.
Oh, I thought it was. Oh, I could have sworn.
The judge could forgive one crime.
One crime. The Oral Jackson and the train cancel each other out, and then he's like, "Well, now we have to decide on the battleships." And Tom's like, "Let me take the fall for that."
And then, bam.
So
he's to be sent away to Enies Lobby.
But before that happens, he's like. Who made you hurt, Franky? And he looks over to Spandam. This is the ass whooping he gave.
Oh, okay.
You might be mixing it up with this because he
possibly
goes in on Spandam. Those are real fishman punches that he's giving him. And what is it? They sedate him at that point. They kind of they don't kill him. They don't kill him.
They do. They were tranquilizers. And this is actually okay. You know,
I feel like this is big.
I know how we talked about the fishermen were supposed to be like black people. I don't think they're supposed to.
Did we get there yet?
No, but listen, I don't think they're necessarily. I mean, you can make the argument, but here's the thing with Tom. Tom is a fisherman, and the people of Water 7 regarded him as a great craftsman, a great shipwright. And, you know, I feel the moment he starts raging, everybody's faces kind of, you know, go back. Oh, look at him. He's just a monster. He's a fisherman. He's
behaving the way I expected him to.
Exactly. And I think that's like something that's not really talked about when it comes to Tom in that moment, you know. They forgot. Everybody turned their back on Tom at that moment. They basically said, forget the sea train, you know, forget all the ships and whatnot. Just he's a monster. Look at him beat up on that guy. You know, it was very quick. Very quick.
And
it's like, yeah, the real prejudice came out in that moment. So
Spandam gave him exactly what he. I'm sorry. Tom gave Spandam exactly what he deserved. And they sedate Tom. And this has always bothered me with this because it's the assumption that, characters from the past like die supposedly if they're axed by a certain character or a villain, whatever. They sedate Tom. And the logic is, oh yeah, we're taking him to Enies Lobby for execution. We never see the execution. And this is the guy that supposedly built the Oro Jackson. And you would think he probably has a good idea how to build Pluton. You probably need the blueprints, but this is the legendary shipwright that built the Oro Jackson, the ship of the King of the Pirates. So he's a world-renowned shipwright. I think Tom is still alive. I don't think he's dead.
Wow.
Interesting.
I never heard a theory like this.
I really don't think he's dead. And the reason why is that whole sedation scene where they
could have killed him.
They had every right to kill Tom in that moment. He attacked a government official. He basically admitted to using Franky's battleships to attack a judicial ship. Even though it wasn't true, he's saying that he did do it. That as soon as he struck Spandam, they had every right to just lay waste to him. And I thought they were going to, but they sedate him instead.
Ooh.
And they take him off to Enies Lobby. You don't know. He's supposedly executed. Supposedly.
We never see it.
We never see a body. That's just me.
Granted, we never seen any execution because, they never showed Gold D. Rogers' execution. We know he's dead.
I mean, well, they showed you right before the axe is about to drop on his head.
Correct. But I guess you're right. We didn't.
I mean, they did that with, they do that with everybody. I feel like all the executions. Yeah, like we think they're like, oh, maybe there's a chance they lived, but it never.
I mean, but we haven't seen many executions,
Right. With this one, it's like you had a chance to kill him because of what he just did. You instead sedate him. You didn't. I think
there's an incentive for the world government to keep him alive, like you're saying.
There's a heavy incentive.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. You're right. He could be. There's so much potential end game when it comes to One Piece, but he could be potential end game.
He might be dead. He might be dead as the intended. It will be more impactful. But again, if he's alive, I'm just saying they sedated that big boy before taking him away. But of course, even though sedated, Franky's not having any of this. He's like, Tom got a good shot in. So am I. He gets like a plank of wood.
It's a rifle. No, he grabs the blunt.
Oh, he grabs the rifle.
Yeah, he grabs the blunt end of the rifle.
He just goes, boom.
Yeah.
It's one of the hardest hits of all time.
Easily.
It's funny. I didn't pick that up in my first read of why Spandam wore that face mask.
Yeah, because Franky crippled his face.
He didn't hit me until my second read through.
I never, kind of bouncing off of that, I never connected what was the direct point at which he needed the face mask, because I don't know if it was it from the pummeling that Tom gave him? Was it the rifle baseball bat swing from Franky? Was it a combination of he gets his shit rocked in this flashback. He gets obliterated. I want to say it was the Franky bit.
I think
it's confirmed. Franky mashed his face in so bad he had to wear, because it's not like a mask, it's a brace. It holds his face together.
Yeah, it's an actual brace.
It slouches.
It's because Franky pummeled him.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So totally satisfying. So totally satisfying. And
then Franky's not done. So Franky's
not done.
Franky's probably going to get in trouble is probably the thought process. He's going to get in trouble. But then Franky goes to stop the train heading to Enies Lobby. GrandMasterHoop, if you want to lean to the left. I feel this doesn't even do it that much justice. He comes in there with a rocket launcher. Yeah, with a rocket launcher.
Right.
Yeah, and he tries to destroy the train. And
he's saying, "Give back Tom." Again, they're taking him away on the train.
They made that train so strong.
And he fails. He gets.
But not does he fail. The last thing he does, I'm going to stop it with my bare hands,
Yeah.
And
So how do they interpret this in the anime? Because in the manga, because there's no motion, it's kind of weird to see. In the manga, they show once the train hits Franky, you see like a panel or two of Franky gripping the train, his feet against the tracks, implying as if he may have stopped it for a second or two.
No, it's the same.
Oh, okay. So in the anime, like he actually like stopped it briefly.
It slows down on that scene, and yes, you are to believe that Franky is actually winning against the train.
Ooh, okay.
And then then it kind of cuts to,
very cool panels. These are some very cool panels.
He got ran over, right? And then his body is sinking into the ocean.
You get Spandam laughing,
and I think Spandam is laughing. I think Spandam even said, "Yo, full speed ahead, kill that Cuddy Flam." This is where the Cuddy Flam Franky like rivalry stems from, or the hatred, whatever you want to call it.
Spandam Franky.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But Yokozuna is watching this whole thing.
Yokozuna is watching.
The frog.
The frog is watching this,
and he's. I mean, I guess
he's crying. He's crying.
He was like, Tom's pet. That was the revelation.
So their family. Yeah, they were a family. It was Tom, Kokoro, Yokozuna, Franky, and Iceberg. They were a family. This
is what made Kokoro start drinking. By the way, the whole thing with Tom.
Yeah,
it was because she did not drink during.
And she always says, times were better when Tom was alive.
Wow. Right. Yeah. And
Kokoro, the last. Good character.
The last thing you get with Kokoro is when this is when it kind of like jumps a little bit to where I think Tom, not Tom, what's his name? Iceberg. I think Iceberg unified Galila, or it was a few years later, and that's when you see Kokoro chugging down a bottle of whiskey, rum, whatever, and I think that's where the line GrandMasterHoop is talking about, where she's basically saying times were better when Tom was around, or something to that effect. I literally remember, I can visualize the panel where Iceberg is walking past Kokoro and she's like chugging down alcohol, and I was like, oh wow, that's the first time she's going in. She's going in on the juice.
Very subtle. I like that.
Oh yeah, it's great. And Iceberg is her drinking buddy too. So he drinks, they drink in remembrance. So
right.
So yeah, from this point, Franky disappears, I believe.
They believe him to be dead.
He doesn't show back up until another
handful of years, enough for CP9 to infiltrate.
Correct.
Enough for Iceberg to unite all the shipwrights in Mars 7,
right?
Build his empire, become the mayor, and then have CP9 infiltrate Galila Company.
Yeah, and then Franky comes back, and they have the whole discussion about the plans. And
well, first Iceberg asked him, "How the hell are you even alive?"
Oh, because I made myself into the cyborg.
And it's like they show I'm telling you, they're gonna expand on this way later.
I think they need to, because it doesn't make sense how he was able to.
They doubled down and made him more of a robot in the time skip. So it's not even like.
Rather than
give you what happened, they said let's make him more into a robot.
I mean, because he got ran over. He was obliterated. It made perfect sense.
His front side got ran over. That's why his back is weak.
Correct.
And
that's the only part that's
the cyborg part.
The front is the only part that's cyborg.
That makes perfect sense.
It was also expanded on that. It's not just his front side was damaged. It's the only side he could operate himself on.
Yes.
He can't operate on his back.
That is true. Yeah, that's very true.
Another good joke.
So it's what was it? He was floating in the ocean, and there was a ship that was just an abandoned ship. I don't even
remember, to be honest. I just know he came upon some scrap and he built himself back up. That's all I remember. That's all I remember.
They're going to expand on this. I'm telling you.
They could. They very much could.
There is such a gap in here because obviously, jumping ahead a little bit, there is a certain scientist, that Franky works with during the time skip, but we'll get to that. But yeah, so right. Franky meets with Iceberg. He's like, how could you start working with the government? These are the people that
Killed Tom.
And Iceberg kind of like does like a 50-50. He's kind of like, it's still your fault, Franky. Like, don't forget, I'm never gonna forgive you. So it's kind of like he's still held on to that after all these years. But in the same breath, you see him start cracking up a little bit, saying, I'm just so glad you're alive, Moronki. And I'm like, oh, okay, they were friends. Good.
In Funimation, it's Flunky. They call him Flunky.
I can accept that. I can.
You don't like
accept
Moronki?
No, it's dumb. I hate that. It is so stupid.
Oh boy.
Berg. No. But right. So was this the meeting with the whole exchange of the blueprints, right? Was this it?
Yeah. What with Franky or
with
wait?
Franky.
Present
Franky
time
and
or
Iceberg.
past?
Like in this flashback.
This is where he gives them the blueprints. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got
and then Franky hides it in a spot that no one will ever think of. And
Well,
don't
the
say
first. Don't say
I
it.
still don't remember.
The first
you
logic,
don't remember?
though,
No.
Oh wow. Okay,
Don't
we'll
tell
save
me.
it. No, we won't.
save it.
We'll save it.
isn't the first logic though? Like he asked him, "Why don't we just burn these?"
I think he does mention that, but I think he also says only burn them if that's like the last possible thing we can do.
Well, because the whole logic of keeping them around is they know about the whole Nico Robin
They do
fiasco.
Right.
And Nico Robin at this point in time is that outlier fact where it's like if anyone gets a hold of her, they can activate the Pluton. And if Pluton gets activated, these blueprints are the only things that can help us stop Pluton.
Right.
So that was the logic where it's like, why don't we burn these? And they're like, no, you can't, because Nico Robin's out there and Pluton is also out there. So we don't know where the hell it is. And only she can activate it. There is a scene later on, which we won't get into yet, that's very impactful, that involves the blueprints, where Franky makes a gamble. I love that scene. But that's pretty much it for Franky's flashback. You know, you got the gist of it. You know,
Franky says he's gonna stay. He's gonna stay in town. Obviously, doesn't join Galley Law. Does his own thing with his own family. And then,
so weird.
And then we're back in the present day. And I think CP9's like,
they kick Franky's ass.
Yeah, you're coming with us.
They wreck him.
Yeah, they do.
Him.
And they say, Usopp, you're coming too. You're a pirate. Despite maybe not being a straw hat, we're gonna take you too. So now they got Usopp and Franky in tow.
And I think they put Spandam on the phone with Franky.
Oh yeah, that was a really good scene. They said,
yes,
our superior would like to talk to you, Cutty Flam.
Yeah.
And he's like, Cutty Flam. So you did survive the sea train.
He calls him Spanda in this scene, right? Spanda.
He's like, no,
you.
he's like, who's this? And he's like, you don't know? You don't recognize my voice? Maybe it's because the last time you seen it, you hit me with a rifle. And he's like, Spanda?
There's an M at the end. Goodness.
But it was a very kind of chilling scene, kind of like, oh, this guy is really pulling all the villainous strings going on here.
He's the director of CP9. He got upgraded.
CP9 may be intimidating, but this guy is the one really pulling their strings.
Right.
And again, it adds to Spandam will stop at nothing. This has now been what, a 10-year plan, 8+ year plan of his.
Oh yeah, since like CP5.
Yeah, since CP5. Yeah, CP5.
Obsessed, right? That is the word for it. Obsessed, right?
He's they take Franky, Usopp. They board the train, and there's that race against time where it's like they want to stop the train so they can all board it, but they don't make it in time. There is one person that makes it in time, though. I don't know what it is.
It's so good.
He has some of the coolest moments in the series. I don't know, dude. Like, give me pre-time skip Sanji over post-time skip any day. I'm sorry.
It's just
he's so much cooler at pre-time skip.
he oh my gosh. And he puts it like on, I know if I'm gonna save a woman, I know where I gotta be. You know, it's like that's his instinct. He knows. I don't know. It's a sixth sense he has, but he knows where to be in the right time, in the right place. So yes, he does board. He leaves a message for Nami, which is actually really funny. The message, they're like, "Hey, are you with the Straw Hats? There's a message for you." And he like wrote in giant like heart letters.
Well, it's a tiny piece of paper, and
For our YouTube watchers.
Yes, because he got
It's huge.
the guy picked up the note, and Nami's like, "How did you find this? Where did you find it?" And then that's when they point to, well, there's that thing, there's that sign right there. That says, "Nami, read this." It's funny. It's
hilarious. But yes, he's always where he needs to be. So now
I feel like Sanji doesn't get moments like this anymore. I feel like he doesn't.
It's different. The arcs are not built like this anymore, you know?
But you could still give Sanji like, I'm telling you, there were
one-liners like this anymore.
There were,
yeah, they do it. They do it.
No,
do it.
Not like this. Like
not like this.
There are scenes with Sanji where I'm like, I am getting hyped for Sanji.
Where he's like the coolest character.
Because again, I think
he is.
I think it was the background music that they had for him
music
all the time. I think that really set the tone, because anytime he came in the picture with that cigarette in his mouth, it was like, yes, Sanji every time. Every time he gets on screen.
Me and Dr. Jace are manga readers, and we're still into it. I mean, it's just like he's just doing cool stuff.
It's simply he's been building on it. He did this in Alabasta because he was the only one not seen by Mr. Two. He had that cool moment against Eneru on the Arc Maxim, you know, thanks for lighting my cigarette, you know.
Yes. Yes. I love that.
And then, but I think what's really good here is that there's so much going on. You forget Sanji is not there. You know Usopp is with Franky. You know Robin is with CP9. But never once I feel you are sidetracked and thinking, where is Sanji? And neither are the other characters too. You know, they're just
because that was when he split up with Chopper. Like he tells Chopper, go on ahead and tell the crew what happened with Robin. And Chopper asks him, well, what are you gonna do? And he's like, don't worry about it.
Well, he's been doing this for a long time. It's like all of this, you know, CP9 reveal, all the stuff with Iceberg. He's just been like solo dolo, walking around, trying to put his own pieces together. And I don't know, he's just kind of like, I don't want to say like Sherlock Holmes, but it's a little like own little like solo detective story.
He honestly put all this stuff together on his own without being in the same room for the CP9 reveal, without knowing the reveal about Robin's you know, true motives, like why she did what she did. They don't build Sanji like this anymore.
The arcs are not built like this anymore. It's just perfect.
That's true.
I don't know if the manga ends on that frame with Sanji about to like board the train, but there's an episode where the last shot is literally just like Sanji from a corner watching them board the train, then lights the cigarette.
I think that was like a final panel. If it was not the final panel of the chapter, it was a final panel for that scene. Because like you see you're at the station and you see a figure like lighting up a cigarette, and you hadn't seen this guy for quite a few chapters, like maybe 10 to 15.
Yeah, it's a good amount. It's a good amount without any
good amount
Sanji.
of time. You forgot he was around, and then bam, lighting
yeah,
a
it's
cigarette.
a little different in the manga. I think it's still very cool, but it's a little different in terms of the pacing in the manga. I'll just add here that, you know, it's like, you're right. It's this thing right now. The story is so, you know, it's still big, but it's so much smaller in scope, where Oda's really juggling like the main characters right now, as well as like some side characters introduced in this arc. Once you get, you know, down the road in the new world where you're in, you know, these gigantic places where there's like multiple factions running around and like, you know, so many different, very important characters they've, you know, had alliances with, characters like our potential crew members. They're just like, it's almost, you just can't do this anymore. It would be nice though if Oda could give us like one more smaller
Hoorah.
contained.
Now's the time.
All right.
Final
Yeah,
saga.
you could. Now might be the time, right?
Now this is it. It's literally, in the present day One Piece. It's either now or it's just never getting it again. But
I mean, yeah, you never know.
But speaking of cool characters, I do like Nami's arc right here. So to tie it back again, because we've been bouncing around. So Nami receives information from Iceberg saying that, Robin actually did say she's doing this for you guys. She's trying to save you. Nami's like, all right, we have hope. Nami's like coordinating, doing her Nami thing where she's like, all right, Chopper, round up Luffy and Zoro. I'm going to stop that train. And you kind of get to see her like running to stop the train. And then she like just misses it, is like devastated because the train's going away. And then she sees the note from Sanji, and then she's back to like having hope again. It's like, all right, we still got this. Like Sanji's on the train, we're making moves again. And it kind of like propels like what's going to happen next, where, she's getting the gang back together and they're going after Robin no matter what.
They meet up with Luffy and the gang. They're able to survive Aqua Laguna. Didn't know if they were going to be able to for a good episode or two. That was a big tidal wave. So they survive Aqua Laguna, and you have Lady Kokoro there, and she's like, well, I mean, this is probably a death sentence, but there is one hope that you kids have in getting your friend back, and that involves Rocket Man. And
the second sea train.
The second sea train. They're
And
like, I thought there was only one sea train. And she says, there technically is only one. This one's a rocket. And that's why it's called Rocket Man.
Look like such trash, dude.
It's got like someone
should have been garbage bin man.
Well, someone painted the shark mouth.
It was probably
it.
Franky that added that feature to it or something. Cause yeah, they get on Rocket Man and away they go. They just launch it forward, and it kind of floats on the ocean a little bit. It needs to get on the tracks.
They have to find the tracks. Yeah.
Which is like, at that point, I'm like, wait, so there's a good amount of time. This thing is just flying on the ocean floor.
Well, it's a ship. It's a paddle ship.
It's a paddle ship.
Yeah, that's why it can float, and that's why it's able to move forward. It's got paddles like a steamboat.
Oh,
just before we move too quickly, I'll just say that Gallilaw and the Franky family decide to come along. They're like, yo, we're in too. We're trying to get Franky back. Right. So Paulie shows up, the guy whose name I keep forgetting.
I
forget his name. The guy with the pointy hair.
Yeah.
The guy with the pointy hair.
Yeah.
And then
Tilestone.
No, Tilestone's the buff guy.
Yeah, Tilestone. Pepe. His name is. Oh wow, it's Pepe Lulu. I think his name is a play on like Pepe Le Pew.
Could be.
And then don't forget the two gigantic seahorses,
Sodom and Gomorrah.
They are the highlight, low key.
They are the highlight of.
So they have like a mini army on this Rocket Man.
It's an army. Yeah,
it's 50 people.
It's not like 5 of them going up against the world government in Enies Lobby. They are squatted up, and they're going to need all these hands once they get there.
It's funny because the way the Franky family kind of hitches on, they kind of beg Luffy and the rest of them because they know what they did. They know what they did to Usopp with the money, what happened with the Going Merry, and they're like, Straw Hat. Well, first they show themselves to Luffy. Luffy's ready for a round 2 with these clowns. They're like, so you want another ass beating, huh? And they're like, listen, man, we're sorry about what we did. We are on our hands and knees. We're begging. Please let us hitch a ride on the sea train to save our big bro, Franky.
Aniki.
And he did not want to do that.
He did not, but I feel like once they kind of set aside their ego and they really kind of just gave themselves over to be like, listen, please, we really want to save our friend. I feel like Luffy was on the same page as them. He's like, I'm not gonna tell you no. You guys, I still want to beat the crap out of you, but go ahead. come on board.
I mean, this is I'm trying to remember if because I know Franky's the reason why him and Usopp like aren't cool. So I think he's like pretty pissed off about that still.
No,
so
he is.
Yeah,
like,
so I don't think he was like down to save Franky anytime soon at that point. I think he was like,
oh yeah.
Well, funny enough, nobody is down to save Franky.
Right.
We'll get into that one.
Actually, yeah, you're right.
They're all on here for Robin.
Yeah.
That's and it's only the Franky family that's here to say we want to save Franky.
Right.
And Gallilaw wants revenge for Iceberg.
Right.
Yes, correct.
Right.
And yeah, because Lucci and them betrayed all of them. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wait, hold on. There's that funny bit. Where Pepe and Tilestone are like, yeah, we're pretty sure we know who it is. And
the reveal,
like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, you guys know too? And it's like, yeah, it's and they mention like 2 6th graders that have been running around the alleyway.
Wait, it wasn't six. Wasn't it 2 workers in the company? Or was it children?
Well, I think in a Q&A, Oda said, like, somebody asked, like, who are these people? And then, like, Oda explained that they're, like, 2 6th, they're nobody. Like, they were so far off from actually knowing.
Right.
And then they were, like, super surprised that it was...
Lucci and Kaku.
Yeah, they're like, what? No way. We weren't thinking that at all. Good little bit. Good little bit.
It was a good comedy section. But yeah,
but now we're on the train.
We're on the train. Grandmaster Hoop's favorite part of Water 7.
It's not like my least favorite part. I just think there are some things you need to mention that happen on the train, and everything else you can kind of.
You got to deep dive this whole segment. There's what, 7 carts? 7 carts on the train?
Well,
5 carts?
Okay. So if you want to talk from Sanji, so yeah, Sanji's on the Puffing Tom.
Yeah, Sanji calls Luffy and is like, hey, I'm on the train. And Luffy says...
kick their ass.
I think he says, like, tear it up. It's a pretty cool line.
I think in the anime, he just tells them to kick their ass.
He says, go ahead, tear things up in the manga, which I think is, like, a pretty cool Luffy line.
Is.
And then, Sanji starts. He
goes in the last card.
His first card is super easy. They're a bunch of scrubs.
Yep.
Well, the guy, you had that Kung Fu guy. He's from Kung Fu Island. The guy that could barely fit in the cart.
Oh, I don't even remember
trying
him.
to do deep dives on every person.
He was you don't remember him? Come on.
No, I don't.
He was in the last cart. He was the guy that so when Sanji walked in through the back door of the caboose, he was the guy that was he's so tall that he has to bend down and kind of like look at everyone in the cart. So he can't even stand up straight in the cart. He has to bend down at 90 degrees to look at everyone. And he's like, you can't handle my Kung Fu, Vince Smoke. Oh, he doesn't call him Vince Smoke, but you can't handle my Kung Fu.
Jeez.
He spoiler. You can't handle my Kung Fu. And it's just funny. I thought it was kind of funny. You had this government agent official that's like not overpowered, but he's not your typical NPC with like just a rifle in his hand. He knows some tricks. And Sanji
he makes mincemeat of him. Moving on.
It's a big deal.
Moving on, he rescues Franky and Usopp.
Okay. Now we're getting into some good stuff, all right? So
and then they go to the next train.
Hold up. Slow down, guys.
You just want to get to Enies Lobby already.
Again,
nothing
nobody
happens here.
Nobody likes Franky. Sanji's ready to beat the crap out of Franky when he says this is Franky. And Usopp vouches for Franky and he says he's actually really cool when you get to know him.
Right.
So they put aside their hatred for Franky. And I think they go to the roof of the cart. Like they're on the outside and they're talking about their plan of attack, They mention like Robin's
Robin.
Yeah, he mentions Robin's a couple of carts ahead. We gotta get to her. Yada yada yada. And I think at this point, Usopp is listening to this plan. They call Luffy. And
they call Luffy on top, right?
And then Sanji then vouches for Franky as well, and they're talking about. I don't think he mentions that Usopp is with them, does he?
I don't think he does.
No, he doesn't. You're right. He does not mention that Usopp.
Yeah,
got
he
captured.
doesn't because Luffy in the rest of this arc, he doesn't question where
is
Usopp. Yeah, you know, he said he was on the train. Where is
and
he?
later he says Usopp, I didn't know you were here, you know, during that pivotal scene.
Yes.
So the whole time Usopp is just like listening, and he's like kind of like quiet, and you can't see his eyes.
He's taking everything in.
Yeah, he's taking everything in. So then they hang up, and they're like, all right, let's go. And Usopp's like, I can't. You know, I'm not part of your crew anymore.
Who's Robin?
Yeah. Well, he basically says, you know, I want you to rescue Robin, but that's not my business. That's not my burden. You know, you're on your own. I'm not going back to you guys. And they let him go. He walks off.
Yeah, because Franky was like, it's only right.
This is fantastic.
Well, Franky's like at first, wait, are you gonna let him go like that? And Sanji tells him, just leave him alone.
Because again, Sanji is super empathetic. Sanji gets Usopp's plight here, you know?
Right.
And it's so funny because Usopp's like, guys, I can't go on with you. I have to leave. And like, they're in the middle of the ocean on a
I'm like, where are you leaving? Where are you going?
Where the heck is he going to go? He's going nowhere.
Like, you're on this mission. You're done.
What is he talking
There is no choice for you on this.
And so,
but
he disappears off screen, and a Navy and a Marine officer, just a regular old dude, shows up. He's like, hey, what are y'all doing out here? I'm going to go alert everybody. And then you hear, I think you hear what, special? Whatever.
Special Kabuto Firestar.
No, not a Firestar.
Was it Firestar?
Metallic Star.
Metallic Star, yeah. It's just a metallic star.
Right.
And then I don't know how the manga does this, but you know the anime scene if you've seen it.
It's incredible.
It's a one shot. It's a one, like it's Giga Chad levels of energy.
I would say the anime surpasses the manga right here.
Really?
I don't often say that.
Oh yeah,
the music video.
Oh, I need to watch it then.
You haven't seen it actually?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I've likely seen it, but in preparation for this.
Oh, you have no idea.
I've read it.
I might tell you to pause and just go watch it right now, then hop back on.
All right, continue on. I'll go watch it real quick.
So, and he's like, I heard you. He's like, I heard you need help rescuing a young maiden. And he's like, who? I think Franky's like, who is that?
No, I think I feel like they're both like, wait, what's going on?
I think Sanji's like, what the fuck is he doing? Franky, I think it takes Franky a second to like realize, and then he goes, it's like, it is I, Soge King.
Yeah, it's really funny. I mean, it's like, I feel like they're both like, what the heck is he doing? No, okay.
I'm gonna have to watch this later. I cannot find like the scene where he reveals himself.
In the manga,
oh no, just look up Soge King intro. Just look up Soge King intro.
Let me try that.
So in the manga, Soge King's like singing. They show like the lyrics, but you know, without like the rhythm and the music, it's like hard to really appreciate. But you know,
it's Usopp. It's just Usopp.
Yeah, no, it's
in a mask.
100% Usopp. But you know, Franky's like, what the heck is he doing? And like you said, you've been bringing up a good point about like Sanji being like this like kind of empath. I think Sanji's the one who says, well, we should just try to be considerate of his feelings in this like moment, which is just like
He basically says, and I know he said this in the anime, he basically says he feels this is the only way he can help Robin without going back on what he said about leaving the crew.
Yeah, they're just like, let's just roll with it. It's weird. He's a weirdo. We could just like, well, it's time to rescue Robin. That's what we need to focus on.
Right. And they're like, if he has to go about it this way, then so be it. Let him be.
It's like, we have to like, if Usopp's going to be like this, we have to like let it ride.
Yeah, exactly.
he'll be helpful for us.
Right.
And I'm trying to stall here so we can get Dr. Jace's reaction to the video after watching it for the first time.
I would like to talk about the ridiculousness that is the video. One, I think that's like the same company who does like Godzilla. That's their like logo, the triangle. Yes. So it's a full-on production.
Yeah, it's so funny. I felt like, you know, when I first fell off of One Piece, when I got tired of the 4 Kids Alabasta arc, I think I had been away for a couple years, and then my cousin was like trying to get me back into it, said it was like getting really good again. And she showed me the Soge King video to like make me like see like, oh wow, this is like, it's still going strong. It's still really funny and still like, you know.
Funny enough, I too remember a moment in history where my cousin showed me and my brother the Soge King video. And yes, we had no idea so much had transpired since Alabasta. And to see the Soge King bit definitely reeled us back in for sure.
Speaking of Soge King bit, I have never seen this before.
That's crazy.
Ever.
I can't believe you never seen that
I just
before.
like, there's like only certain things I ever double back on for the anime, like the fight scenes or like the emotional bits. I've never seen. Yeah, the anime did this scene so much better.
Oh, yeah.
Soge King anime is just so iconic.
I think they just knew. They just leaned into the ridiculousness that Usopp is in a mask, posing as the king of snipers from Sniper Island, you know. And the
manga has him sing lyrics, you know. The manga has him like
in the anime he's singing like the whole theme song. Like it's a whole like theme, like it's a whole music video.
Right.
He's
it's a
muttering
whole moment.
And it's funny because like I know those bits that you guys are mentioning where like in the manga there's like these little bubbles where he's singing a song, and in my head as I'm reading it I'm like, how would that song even go? I wonder how it would sound like. I never once thought they actually wrote the song for him.
They wrote a freaking song. They did.
That's hilarious.
Incredible.
I can't believe you never seen it.
I already love the ridiculousness of Soge King, but the fact that there was another hidden layer on this onion that he had an intro that already 100 times.
But also the other lyrics too are just so freaking stupid. He's like, whether you're a mouse or a heart, lock on. And then like the ending of the song is like he says to run away. Like and then oh god, it's just phenomenal. It's
great.
Beautiful.
It's great. I love it. I don't know how far you guys got on Soge King.
No, that's basically
we're going in. We're trying to stall to get your instant reaction before moving on.
That's hilarious. No, it's fantastic.
It's something to behold.
So what at this point, they kind of split off a little bit. Soge King kind of does his own thing. He kind of like
I think they go into
ahead.
They meet the WANZE. They meet the WANZE dude.
Franky and Sanji drop down and they start like wreaking havoc. I want to say, is this when they like break the thing off? They
break them off like periodically throughout. I think every time they pass one, they break it off. So
yeah.
The one that T-Bone was in is already broken off, I believe.
They break that one off.
Sanji ends up fighting WANZE, and then Franky's fighting this mouse dude with
Nero.
Yes. How do you remember his name of all names?
I feel like when you first arrive at Nero,
I don't know.
He seems important, and that's like the thing about like this.
He's like the strongest person on the train besides CP9.
Correct, because I do remember this. He has learned some of the 6 powers.
He did not learn all of them.
He does not know all of them, right? And that's why he regards himself as like the last one before CP9.
He's a CP9 agent in training.
The thing about this, like the train section, is that each battle, each character seems more and more important And then once you finish the entire saga, you look back and it's just like Nero and WANZE and T-Bone are like nothing. They're like nothing burgers. They play such a small role. But like I think when you're going through it, it's like, oh, this T-Bone character, but nothing. He does nothing.
He's a justice fanatic.
I mean, we'll get back
genuine.
to T-Bone, but yes, he's super easily. Oh my gosh, they really built up T-Bone for nothing.
For nothing. I don't know why.
A lot of
Until he's
anticipation
important
around him.
again.
I don't
final
think he'll
saga.
I don't think he'll ever be important again.
I hate that cover. I hate that cover.
WANZE and T-Bone all got on the cover.
That is just awful.
It's just gross because you had to look at WANZE's eyes, and those eyes bothered the hell out of me.
We don't have to talk about this, right?
Yes, we do.
He uses
do.
ramen noodles, and that's it. That's his gimmick. Sanji is a chef, so
It's
he's
a
good
little
with
bit
knives.
more to it.
No,
I mean,
don't
Break it
do
down,
this.
Kame Chris,
More
because
battles.
GrandMaster wants to blast through this.
Don't.
fight
There's
like it
nothing
didn't happen.
here. There's nothing here.
What?
Sanji
gave a
fights
pretty
with
cool
cooking
moments
utensils.
I know.
He's using
He
knives. He's a chef.
He's never
was-
done
he
that
was-
before.
He became Zoro for like 10 seconds.
But
Come on.
it makes sense. They're kitchen knives. He's just cutting up noodles.
Why can't you just appreciate the one time we're gonna
Actually-
see Sanji using his hands in
Time out.
combat?
I will say this. If you go on the One Piece wiki, call it retcon if you want. They're saying Sanji is skilled with knives, not just because of cooking, or has worked with
Don't
sharp.
say hockey.
No, not hockey.
Okay.
His background.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wait, what
it-
from
it
his
make-
background?
he can use yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, the cooking part sounds.
They made a point to clearly state that on the One Piece wiki.
Is it a
But he made a
speculative
clear
point or is
point.
it definitive? Like they say, yes,
Like
he learned it.
it's in like the foreshadow story impact points.
Which makes sense because he does make a very extreme point. He says he only uses like he only cuts like food. Like he doesn't like use kitchen knives for anything else. Like he's not gonna use swords or anything.
I'll tie it back to his cooking ability. I don't like the whole foreshadowing to later stuff.
I say yes. Do what you will with that. Do what you will with that.
So
I don't buy it either.
Sanji unveils a new ability in his kicking, his kicking cookbook. It's the surgery shot, right? The plastic surgery shot where he rearranges.
Stop
We're
that.
diving deep into the WANZE fight.
I mean,
Please.
unless you want to talk about more about the WANZE fight, I know Grandmaster does.
Move on from the wands. Yes, he kicks his face so hard he makes it pretty, and then he's like,
yes.
he's like, my face. What'd you do to my face?
Now I'm ugly.
It's freaking stupid. Just say no more.
You had that fight kind of just gets wrapped up. And you had Franky
It goes
versus.
about 4 chapters.
It goes
pretty
about.
long.
It's a hefty fight.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
has a good
he
amount
kinda
of
beat
episodes.
Sanji for a second. He kind of put Sanji in a bind for a second because
He
Sanji
did.
got stuck. He got stuck in the
After Oda's
noodles and got
packing
thrown
so
around.
much. Yeah, after Oda's packing so much in these like Water 7 chapters and episodes, like where so much is happening all the time. Like he slows.
These are 1v1
down.
fights.
Yeah.
Like it
The
almost.
WANZE Sanji fight.
And it's like, my God, if they're struggling against these clowns, like what's gonna happen when they get to CP9, and the car in the front?
So I will say this. They do make it a point to say from the moment they got tossed out of the window by Lucci, that they have been getting stronger from that moment. And then Luffy,
I don't know what that means.
Like, no, Zoro.
No,
Zoro,
I know what you're talking about. Like narratively speaking, it's like.
No, I think simultaneously on the other train, on the Rocket Man, Zoro makes this comment.
Right.
That they've been getting stronger from that moment. So,
right.
And also, Nami shows up with a bunch of food before they get on the train.
That's the
yes.
fuel. That's the
Yes.
fuel needed. Well, food and booze. Food and booze.
Yeah, and Luffy puts it in his pocket.
I love that.
Actually,
Okay.
funny, Luffy later on, he's like, I was hungry back then. Or something stupid.
Don't forget, you lost against us, and yes, he tied it back to food.
Franky's fight, I think, is more interesting than WANZE because this is the first time we get to see Franky, fighting on their side, and Franky busts out one of the funniest little special moves.
The Minotaur.
yeah.
Centaur.
The centaur.
The centaur.
And they're like,
This is
Stupid.
dumb.
your legs are supposed to be on the back.
It looks horrible.
It looks so stupid.
It looks
so
disgusting.
stupid.
No, it's funny because he
Disgusting.
asked him, like, have you heard of the legendary mythical centaurs of lore? And the guy's like kind of getting scared. He's like, oh my God. Yeah, I have. What's he gonna, he's gonna turn into one of those majestic beasts. And then it's just his front half of his like lower body that just extends forward. And it's weird. It's very, very weird. But surprisingly, it works. He kind of uses it as like a grapple to like immobilize Nero and gives him, what is it, the
hammer.
strong right.
Strong hammer.
Strong hammer.
Yeah.
Do you think he's actually doing anything when he takes off the skin glove off his hand?
I guess because they would imply that it's stronger.
Metal to metal contact. No
Like
cushion.
it looks like paper when he takes it off.
Right.
It
It doesn't seem like there's a layer that actually makes a
I mean,
difference.
they can't animate skin like like it's rubber coming off metal, like some like that.
I
detail.
guess
They just slid it off. It's not important. You get it. Like slide it off.
Now it's hurt
Here's metal
more.
to your face.
It's silly, no doubt, just the visual representation, but it is stronger when he takes it off. No
He
doubt.
smashes it. Well, before the final hit, because the final hit
Yes.
leads to him smashing in Nero to the CP9 cart.
Correct.
Before that, Usopp
Usopp.
is doing his marksman thing while,
He's doing his
Well,
while Sanji's
so-
cooking.
So just to kind of do a visual, Robin is one cart ahead of CP9.
Yes,
Yep.
she's by herself in
Right.
that cart.
And Usopp goes to that cart. So he's talking to Robin.
He's climbing on the side of the carts.
And she-
Usopp's talking to Robin. Frankie's fighting Nero on top of the CP9 cart.
on top of the CP9
Right.
cart. And Sanji's one cart back.
One cart back, yeah.
And it's a really funny bit because there's one.
Mr. Longnose.
Well, there's a dude who comes in. He starts kind of harassing Robin, and then he comes back and like Usopp has to hide. in
Oh yeah,
Robin's
Usopp's
cloak.
in Robin's coat. He's like doing all the weird arm stuff.
Yes, his arm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why
he's
is he
like-
doing that? He's
he's
doing
like-
like weird things.
It's like the YMCA.
He's like the dude's like, is something wrong? And he's like, no, nothing's wrong.
Wait, what, was it Usopp talking or not?
No, it's Robin talking, but it's
But-
Usopp doing.
Then you see Usopp's nose right next to Robin's face.
Yeah. It's so stupid. And then this guy, I think he says something smells different or something. And
Smells like a stinky pirate.
yes.
Goodness.
And so then he comes back, and then Usopp takes him out. Again, Usopp is capable.
He is
So-
capable. It's an NPC so far. No one important. But he can handle his own against no names. No
Correct.
names.
So now at this point, well, again, Robin is very adamant still. She's not coming back. She's doing all this. Although Usopp says they know, she's not coming back still.
Right.
And then now everything collides. Sanji kicks WANZE through the door. Franky falls through. And now I forget how Robin is there or whatever.
Well, she throws. I don't know if she throws him. She hurts Usopp. Kind of snaps him a little bit because Usopp starts foaming at the mouth from one of her back breaks, or she does one of her fleur techniques on him to get Usopp off.
Well,
And
I think that's after what's about to happen.
No. That's what happens. So like Robin throws Usopp, and then they're kind of like, Robin's like, hey, like, I'm not going with you guys for the last time. Won't you guys listen? But Usopp gets up, grabs Robin, and then they run to the other train.
He does a Usopp special smoke.
Yeah, there's
star.
a whole moment. This is a whole
surprisingly effective.
It is effective.
Very
it is.
effective.
This was
smoke
whole
grenade.
Moment.
He does
It's
a
really
smoke
good.
grenade.
They almost got away with it. They almost got away.
Well,
it was
actually,
like-
funny enough, Usopp is like telling Franky and Sanji, he's like, when you're powerless, there's only one thing to do. Run.
Run.
Then he throws the smoke bomb. And yeah, they got away and they disconnected the cart.
Yeah,
Right.
things are looking good. They did it. They rescued Robin.
Until
But-
Khalifa.
Yes, Khalifa
The
throws
thing
like
is, CP9 wasn't worried even in the slightest. They didn't
They were
like
not.
even break a sweat.
They were surprised by the smoke grenade. But
They were.
That was where
Surprised.
I was like, wow. So Lucci's kind of like, smoke. And
but
I'm
it was
like,
funny.
oh, okay.
It's like the reason he's surprised, he's like, he never thought someone would use such a cowardice tactic. I think he says
They expected them to get their ass. They thought a fight was coming to like
Yes.
free Robin, but no, the goal is Robin. Let's dip. We don't have to
Right.
fight these guys.
right.
But Khalifa uses her thorn whip that we're never gonna see again.
Now,
After this
we've seen it a
moment.
couple of times now. This is the last time.
This is the last time we see it. It's a thorny whip, nothing more, nothing less. And she stops the car from getting too far away from the train. And then good old Blueno uses his door fruit
Yes,
and-
and he uses air door.
air door, basically just teleports into the cart that got dislodged, saved Robin, or not saved Robin, took Robin away, and then came back to the main train cart and kind of they just let the cart go.
Well, I forget what happens because Franky gets recaptured too. I forget how though. But
Franky gets recaptured.
Franky definitely gets recaptured.
No, he does.
So I think what happens was they had that moment. You had Khalifa. She stopped the train, but then it was Robin actually telling them like, "This is pretty much." She was like, "I'm not going. This is never going to work. You should leave me the hell alone forever and ever." And then that's when Lucci's laughing because he was laughing when they were running away because he was like he knew that she was just going to come back anyway. So then that's when she goes back through the door, and then the train starts to go apart, and then I believe they like start to drift from the main cart, and then I think it wasn't there like an explosion. I can't remember.
I honestly don't
Well-
remember. I just know Franky gets recaptured.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
One thing I'll point out is that Sanji, to your point, Grandmaster, is that Sanji kicks Blueno, and Blueno feels a little something. Like they're
right with
the
Iron
shots
Body,
are
with Iron
bubbling
Body.
up.
with
Right.
Iron Body, right?
I think like, and it doesn't, clearly it's not because of like training per se, even though you probably can make the argument that Luffy was doing something. But I think like there's just passion and they're like, love for Robin and like that motivation is really motivating them because Sanji's just like, he hasn't done anything different. He's been fighting other people and now he's like able to break through an Iron Body, which is like the first time I think we see that so far. So
Well, I think all their fights from watching it, it did seem a little like trainy, like they were training. Like every fight it was like a push to the limit type of moment. And that, I guess that's the only time we really ever see these guys train is like when they're in battle and they beat someone. They're like, all right, I healed up a bit. All right, I'm strong again. Like I've gained battle experience because that like every single one of them have that moment.
This may not be the only time this happens, but this is the time they make a point of noting it.
Yeah.
Like verbally
Right.
saying
We are getting stronger with each fight that we
Correct.
do.
And sometimes it doesn't have to be a fight. Talking about the other train, the Rocket Man, Luffy and Zoro took out another huge wave together. They did a combo attack.
Right. Oh God, yes, the wave, the water. Oh no.
Right.
And it's funny because
they take the wave down.
they
and
take the
then
wave down.
They almost run into the ship they left behind. Cut that in half.
Well,
You know?
before the ship, it's funny because they didn't know that Luffy and Zoro could do what they just did against the wave. So after that, before they get to the next cart, you have this little moment where the Franky family and I think some of the Gallilaw,
some of the Gallilaw too. Yeah,
they're kind of like pretending they're Luffy and Zoro.
They're fanboying. They're fanboying.
Oh right.
Bazooka.
I found Hawker or whatever the one. Right, they're literally fanboying, and it's hilarious.
It's funny. Like they've never seen power like that before, so they're having a fanboy moment, and they're like, "Yo, these guys, they could probably save their friend because what I just saw was insane."
Right.
And then of course they get to the cart, and I think it's kind of funny at first because the cart was I think they launched Luffy launched himself first to the cart to see maybe Robin and the rest of them are on there. We got to make sure. And it's funny because he lands in it, and they're like, okay, so Luffy's gonna come out and let us know if they're there. Luffy comes out and he gives the X mark, but he has bullets going through him at the same time.
Right.
Because he's getting shot by the Navy people on the cart. So Zoro's like, okay, what was it, like one sword style? And they're like, I'm trying to think of what, because I think they had an alternative way to get past the cart, but I think Luffy tells Zoro something like, Zoro, take care of it. Like, you got this. Just get rid of the cart. And Zoro cuts it in half down the middle, and you have you have a whole panel dedicated to this.
Yeah,
you get everyone there. Wait, is this it? Oh no, it did.
Yeah, no, that's it. And then they're
it.
using the halves of the carts as rafts.
Yes,
yes.
You have both sides of people just shocked that this man just cut this cart in half at this
and
speed.
everybody on everybody that was with them too, like the Gallilaw, all of them were like, what?
Everyone's shocked. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. And I think T-Bone, because we got to mention T-Bone.
Yeah, T-Bone's next.
T-Bone was chasing the C train to catch up with it.
He was
running. He was running on the tracks.
He's not running towards them, right? He's trying to catch Puffing Tom. They run into some Sea Kings, and they're like, Zoro, I did not like this. Zoro's like, somebody's on these tracks, and they just killed these Sea Kings. And then he gets like kind of nervous, but
because he was like, these aren't any ordinary cuts.
Yes, correct. Like
they were sliced down the middle.
He really builds it up like he's about to have this really grandiose fight, and then they finally catch up to T-Bone.
One shot.
It's one shot, and it's over.
One shot. He's gone.
I mean, it wasn't like just a one shot. Like, I mean, he literally had to jump off. He had to jump. I mean, it was one shot, but it was a moment. Like, it wasn't like a slice. All right, next.
I mean,
yes, it was. That's what
he did a move. He did a move, but it was one move.
Yes.
He jumped off the train. Like, he literally like had to jump off the train, and T-Bone was sitting there waiting. And then Zoro broke his sword or something, and Zoro. It was just like such a cool moment. It was necessary. I think
Zoro
it was pretty cool.
broke everything.
Yeah,
I mean, it was cool. I know what GrandMasterHoop is saying, because like Zoro's looking at the Neptunians that are dead, and he's like, "What's this? No, there's supposed to be a big guy coming up."
Right. They really kind of built it up, man. It was over.
Bam, just sliced. One thing I do want to mention is just kind of related to the CP9 powers. I don't know if you guys felt this at all, but the 6 powers, it kind of bothers me that they say the name of what they do whenever they
like finger pistol?
Shave.
Well, okay, shave. That's what it is. Shave. I don't like that. Like, finger pistol's fine, because finger pistol's like, I'm doing a move. Shave is just, I'm moving. Like, I'm just moving away
I'm announcing that I'm moving really fast.
Shave. I hate that. I hate that. Just random. I just wanted to mention it because we're still kind of early on in the 6 powers being utilized. It's Shave and Iron Body. I don't like that they just announce defense mode and they just take the hit. Just take the hit. You don't need to say.
I guess the like there's so many effects and different things that go on. They don't want to confuse anybody with the difference between like the martial arts and devil fruits, because you're like,
exactly.
wait, is that a devil fruit move or is that?
I get why they're doing it, because it is technically still an ability. It's the 6 powers. Like it's a move. It's a move. I just, at the end of the day, it's just shave is just you moving fast. So it's just weird when they say shave and they just teleport out of eyesight. I don't know.
I think part of it is also they're trying to say these can be learned by anybody. I mean, you know, potentially. So foreshadow, you know. Exactly.
So and then how do Sanji, Usopp get on the Rocket Man? Do they
catch up? They catch up to them.
They catch up, but like do they just ram into their cart or?
Well, I forget what happens, but at some point, Sodom and Gomorrah and the Rocket Man get separated at one point or something. And they do, and they have to find each other again because Yokozuna, I think, knocked them off of the track. Yokozuna shows up and knocks the Rocket Man off the track.
Right. Yes, he does. Luffy's kind of pissed at him when he does that.
Right.
So yeah, and okay, right. And I think they lodge them back onto the track. I mean, eventually what? Usopp and Sanji do get on Rocket Man.
Yeah, they catch up to them and
Luffy and Chopper love Sogeking. They love
so cool, Sogeking. It's funny because they don't know who he is. They don't know who he is, Kame Chris. They don't know who he is.
Oh, you know, we need to do a whole podcast on Luffy's intelligence level, because
I promise you,
I have
there's a panel.
Points.
There's a panel at the very end. We'll get to it in the next part. But there's a panel where Luffy literally says, "Usopp?" ? I won't say where, but we'll get to it in part 3. But I just wanted to throw it in there. It was just funny. That
it is hilarious. Again, at the heart, those are the youngest members.
They say I think it's Chopper that asked for his autograph, and
that sounds right.
And Chopper says, "Where is Sniper Island?" And Usopp kind of thinks for a second, and he's like, "Sniper Island is here in your heart." And they buy it.
And they're like, so cool.
It's fantastic.
Usopp's they do not question this guy at all.
But while that's happening, everybody in the background, like Zoro and Nami, and I think the Galley Law too, or whoever, the Franky family, they know Usopp. They're like, hey, isn't that just the long nose?
I think it also kind of came off like especially later on, but I guess it does come off like Luffy just doesn't want to like, you know, admit, oh yeah, you know, we just got into it, but you know what, that's Sogeking, you know, I'm just gonna, you know, let Usopp be, because I don't want to bring this, like, you know, they just had this big conflict and Usopp didn't want to like be man enough and face Luffy, so I just feel like it was kind of one of those awkward, but I guess not awkward, but
well, I can't remember. Did Luffy ask Sogeking to join the crew?
No, he did not. He didn't ask him.
Okay.
And actually, funny enough, up until this point, we kind of glossed over it. Whenever Usopp is mentioned amongst the other crew members, it's well, okay, right. So like, kind of going back a little bit. When they're trying to find Zoro and Luffy before Aqua Laguna comes over, they're all so Chopper is shouting, you know, Zoro, Luffy, and then he whispers Usopp, and Usopp too, and he just whispers it, and then the rest of the Galley Law, they're like, wait, why are they whispering the last name? I don't know, just I guess we gotta whisper it too. So they all shout Luffy and Zoro's name, and they whisper Usopp.
Usopp, you can come too.
Usopp, you can come back.
I'm telling you right, in the anime, that is done so perfectly.
it's literally hilarious. And then also with Luffy multiple times, he's saying there are scenes where like he's saying, yeah, we gotta go catch up with Luffy, I'm sorry, with Zoro, Sanji, and Usopp, and then he whispers to himself, oh wait, I forgot Usopp left the crew.
Yeah.
No, it was when Nami was showing her like her new stick, and he was like, "Oh yeah, Usopp made it." Like, and they're like,
yes, the climate baton.
So cool.
The perfect
They're
climate tag.
Yeah, that's so cool. Then Luffy and Nami go, "Oh, Usopp."
That
Like,
was his last creation.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's literally freaking hilarious. I love these sequences.
Yeah, there's so much good stuff. I'll just so it's like we've been going through the plot beats, but like the thing that keeps happening is that Robin keeps turning everybody down, and it's like it's really good stuff because I think like you can see at least in the manga the facial expressions that it's like they are chipping away at like her decision and like her kind of like her, I don't know, willingness to just sacrifice herself. And so like right before she's taken again, like Usopp says, have faith in Luffy. And like, it's just like these little things keep chipping away at her. And I don't know, what she's going to end up doing when they finally come face to face. So that's been happening all along. Then they arrive at Enies Lobby and they take her to the back. And then, well, everybody else is about to arrive too.
Right. They so what? The Pupping Tom gets to the fated Enies Lobby, right? And it's funny how they get there, where they initially like don't the clouds kind of like part away a little bit, like because it's the island that never sees nighttime, right?
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird island.
Very symbolic for justice. The light
never
shine.
sets on justice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean it's literally really great over here because they get to Enies Lobby first. And
Luffy goes first. They're all like
first I mean like CP9. CP9 gets to Enies Lobby first. They disembark and they're like, okay, let's go to the gates
Tower
of
of Law.
The Tower of Law. And from here, Luffy and them, they're riding Rocket Man, and what will happen, Super TV? They're riding it, and
Luffy, they're like, let's come up with a plan. How about we'll do this, we'll do this, and then we'll show up. And Luffy's like, yep, got it. And everyone's like, all right, if we're all good with the plan, and then Luffy just skyrockets into Enies Lobby,
gone.
It's just gone.
Yep. Typical
and they're just
Luffy.
like, wait, didn't we just talk about this? And
It's,
like Luffy
it's great.
wastes no time. Luffy's on a mission right now.
He just takes off, and this is a part in I feel like at this point in One Piece, they're really establishing the Dynasty Warriors element of the series, where like it's one strong character versus thousands of NPCs at once. I think this is where they got that genre from for like the One Piece games. I don't know if you guys played a lot of the One Piece
Pirate Warriors. Yes,
it's the Stormtrooper effect.
Right. It's the most popular genre for One Piece, and I'm not surprised because you get a scene like this, and you could tell how powerful these characters are. They are just steamrolling past these no-name Marines and just annihilating them. Well, Luffy is, at least for now. Luffy's the one doing it.
Everybody's doing an ample amount of work. Like the Marines are really not doing any kind of counter damage.
I think this is good
all.
stuff. I don't know if Oda like made this decision, but it's like what he did on the train where it was like, yo, let's like emphasize like a couple characters and then we'll have like some 1v1s that go a couple chapters and episodes. That'll be good. I don't know if he decided to change, but he does it so differently here. And I think it's like way for the better, where it's like, I don't think, I don't want to rush through anything, but Luffy goes in, he starts taking people out. Next wave comes in, they start taking people out. And they introduce these characters, but it's not in the way that it is on the train, where it's like, hey, let's really hone in on WANZE and his power and who he is, and then give this like long 1v1. It's like, hey, here are the Giants. All right, the Giants got a chapter and a half, and then they're going down. We're moving on. It's like, here's the dog team. The dog team shows up. I don't know if they get any screen time, to be honest. And it's just like they are mowing down through these people.
They have factions that are made to stop this stuff from happening. If there's an invasion of Enies Lobby, they have countermeasures, and they're blasting through these people. They got the Giants. They got the people on the dogs. They got the jury.
The guys with the ball and chains.
The jury. The jury.
Is that all
like
they
guilty. They're just plowing through all these characters. Like once that train like blasts through the front gates, it's all hell. All hell breaks loose. It's everyone making a mad dash, trying to figure out where Robin is, where they have to go for the Tower of Law. And obviously off in the corner, you have Spandam meeting up with the other CP9 members. We'll probably get into their meeting next week in the finale, like what exactly some of the things that they talked about, because there's some heavy stuff that they go over with devil fruits and I really want to save that. I really want to save it. We're coming up on the 2-hour mark in this episode for part 2, but I do want to end on this note with a bombastic fight, because up until this point, it's kind of like you're wondering the whole time, how is Luffy gonna really go up against these guys? Like, sure, we get Zoro saying, oh, after every fight, we're getting stronger. And it's like, okay, I guess. But Luffy punched one of these people, and it did not faze them at all. I think he punched Blueno. Wasn't it Blueno that he punched in Iceberg's mansion?
Yeah, pretty sure it was.
It was Blueno, I think.
If not, it was also Lucci as well. But yes, it did not do anything. They did not put a scratch on any of them.
Did not phase. There was no wincing. There was no moment like with Sanji, where Sanji kicked Blueno, and Blueno's like, "Damn, man, God, relax," and he kind of pushes him off. CP9 reveal back in Water 7, no attacks were phasing them. So you're left wondering, well, what the hell's gonna happen here? And in the sequence where they basically send off, I think Blueno is the easiest person to get there because he can use the door fruit.
Yeah, I think they send Blueno. Yeah,
right. They send Blueno over, and I
think Blueno couldn't wait. Blueno was like,
he couldn't wait.
Yeah,
because I think they were all instructed to just stay in the Tower of Law so that they could protect Spandam and Robin. And what Spandam was not worried in the slightest that whoever, because he doesn't even know who's invading the island. He just hears on his radio someone's invading the island, and he's like, who is invading? Five people. Well, no, first they tell him like 5,000 or no. They say whoever invaded took out 5,000 men, and he's like, 5,000? You're kidding, right? You mean 5? And like the person responds saying like, 5? Hold on, wait a second. And then it gets cut off. So Spandam's like, oh, I knew it. 5 people.
Well, Spandam's such an idiot. He doesn't like put the ringer back on. He just leaves it. He leaves it off the line, and so when people try calling him again, it's like disconnected. He's like so not like he's not a competent person.
He's terrible at
Actually,
his
it's
job.
good that you mentioned the transponder snail and how lackadaisical he is with it.
Yes, it does tie in. It does tie in. We will go over it next week because that's the big one.
Yes,
that'll tie in. Yeah, that'll tie in nicely.
But so you get Luffy versus Blueno. They kind of trade blows a little bit. Blueno's mocking him. And he's basically saying, yeah, man, I mean, you can't hurt me. Iron Buddy, Shaver. And Luffy can't keep up. Then,
Doesn't
No,
he hit him like off
No,
the bat?
Luffy is keeping up.
Yeah, because I'm like, wait,
Okay,
what scene
right.
are we talking about? Because we have jumped around, and there was a lot of little things that probably messed me up. But it was you had there was an order to just destroy all the Straw Hats, and then he had Lucci go with him. I literally forgot his name already.
Oh no. Kame Chris, you're getting ahead.
That's ahead. That's not this
that's
fight?
ahead.
Yeah.
Because
So,
it's
yeah,
heavy
okay,
stuff.
okay,
It's
okay.
heavy
goes off on
stuff.
his own. Blueno goes off on his own just to like, fight Luffy, I guess.
Right. Because we're
And
still
this is not
skipping the conversations with that Spandam had with CP9. We're saving that for next week because those
yeah,
are big
okay.
topics.
The
They're big
order you're
topics.
talking about comes
After
next
this.
week. Yeah.
Spandam
Right.
doesn't know bad things are happening on his
Right.
island.
Okay. This is the
He's
first.
so-
This is the very first meetup when they first get there, and then
Yes.
Luffy gets his ass kicked. Yeah. Okay.
No. Luffy is not getting his ass kicked. He is
Luffy
keeping
comes
up.
and kicks ass.
Yeah,
Luffy
he's
comes in
keeping
there
up
and
and-
hits him immediately.
Yes. And then he's very surprised that he's keeping up, seeing this how the
Luno's like,
last
yo,
time.
what's good? It's gonna go the same way as last time. Luffy's like, I don't really know. Punches. Blueno's like, oh snap! Like you guys, you're not messing around. And
Yes.
it's pretty one-sided. Luffy's
Well,
comfortable.
No, but
It's-
Luffy acknowledges
He's
he
not
said,
strong enough to take him out, though.
I can't beat you like this. Right.
Yes. He's
Right.
he's landing hits and he's doing damage, but it's not going to be enough.
And that's when the big reveal happens.
Oh, he
on,
wasn't
yeah.
fast enough.
Let's pause.
Now, hold on. It's important to note he mentions Aokiji. He says, ever since Aokiji.
Ever since Aokiji.
Yes.
Yes,
He said,
ever
I
since
knew-
Aokiji.
He basically says, I feared that I was not strong enough to protect my friends. And I never want to feel like that again.
Funny enough.
Yes. And so
Funny
here
enough.
we are on chapter 387. One Piece comes, is born out of the shadows of like Dragon Ball Z and like this idea of like leveling up, this idea of like next form and like extra levels. It's just like, Oda's writing this in the shadows of like just Dragon Ball Z's complete control over manga and an anime. And I don't know. It's just like I can't even imagine what it must have been like to like finally see this kind of thing. But it's like I don't think I'm overstepping to say this is Super Saiyan. This is Luffy going Super Saiyan. This is Luffy like second form,
Yeah, it definitely is.
I would
It's
say
the-
so, yeah.
It's the classic anime transformation.
Yeah. So it was gigantic. It was huge because like we're 387 chapters in, and Oda's like, "Here's this now. Like, here you go. We've gone through so much together, and only now are we seeing like Luffy like enter another form this late into the game."
Gear.
He goes Gear 2.
Segundo. Oh, I love it. I'm sorry. The English dub has nothing on this.
Oh, I would just like to point the English dub is terrible. They're like second gear.
Oh, ew, ew.
And it
You don't
doesn't work.
say
I'm like,
gear.
you have to say gear first. I don't care if it's grammatically correct. You have to say gear first.
Second gear. Why do they do this? Oh man. Yes. Second gear. Steam starts emitting from his body. I remember that final panel. That was the closing of the chapter, because you get Luffy doing the iconic pose right here, fists down, knees
Yep.
bent, hand on the knees, and he just says gear second, and the chapter ends, and you see steam coming from his body. I agree with Hooper TV. I feel like, if you were a manga reader back then, especially in Japan, reading this weekly, and you got to this part, this was probably Super Saiyan for you. I feel like it was. You don't see anything like that.
I would say yes, but then as well, it was probably too much. I think saying Super Saiyan may be too much, because then he does something, which we'll talk about later. He does something. beyond Gear 2. So you to say like, oh, he gets Gear 2, then
Chris, that's like saying I wasn't hyped for Super Saiyan because Super Saiyan 3 was coming later.
That's not what I'm saying. Super Saiyan 2 did not come until way later after Super Saiyan. That was
but you were hyped for this regardless.
You were hyped at this point because for all you knew, this was it. This was the transformation that he was gonna need to whoop ass.
Except you're so right. But like a chapter later.
Well,
it was literally a chapter later.
Hold on. Wait,
I know. I think he does it here though.
It is here, but
let's wrap up this fight. Let's wrap up this
fight.
Let's wrap up this fight. So Luffy
we're right
goes
here.
Gear 2.
Luffy goes you don't know if there's anything else after this. You're like,
wait, real quick. I wanted to know, did you know it was red reading the manga? Did you know
in the manga, I think the red was used as an anime liberty. Because on the cover for, I forget which volume it is, but it's the cover where he fights Blueno. And right here, HooperTV has it. Luffy is not red and that is the pose. In the cover. And that's the pose.
Smoke too.
That's the steam. So it's one of those things where like when the anime gets to the point in the manga, it's one of those things that they take liberties with. So like, for example, Bulma from Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, her hair is purple in the manga, but the anime changes it to blue. Or the Rasengan in Naruto is actually yellow in the manga, but the anime changes it to blue. It's just one of those things that I like seeing, like an anime take liberties with what is shown in the manga, and they make it more iconic than what it originally is. Can you imagine if the Rasengan was yellow? No, you can't. It's blue. It's blue. Same with Gear 2nd. I can't imagine Luffy without red skin with steam coming off of him.
I didn't even know he's red.
You didn't know he was red? He's definitely red.
He's fully red.
I've never seen the anime.
You've never seen this scene?
Nani?
Okay. Soga King is excusable because it's a comedy bit. You never saw the fight.
I've never seen past. I probably saw bits of Skypiea when it was on Toonami, and that's probably it.
This is insane. Wow. I don't know.
Wow.
I only read the manga.
So now you just learned Gear 2nd, he's in red.
I couldn't pronounce Blueno's name last week. Why do you think that
That's a pronunciation. That's fine.
I've never heard it pronounced.
Goodness me. But here we are, Gear 2nd.
So here we are. He's Gear 2nd, and he's like in this stance. And Blueno's like, what the fuck are you doing? Are you aiming to punch me? And Luffy's like, jet pistol, nails him without even moving. This fight's really cool. This is such a cool fight.
It's beautiful.
It's a display of power fight.
The display of power.
Because Blueno definitely said, I'll just go and take it. Like, if you think you could hit me, go ahead and hit me.
Well, he hits him a couple of times with jet pistol, and I think he hits him with jet whip as well.
Right.
And then Blueno just says, yeah, I'm just going to do this giant iron body because he's gearing up the bazooka. And it was, I don't know how they do in the manga.
Whole panel.
No, but it's like, it's such a quick transition. Because
it's like
Chris, you know, right?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like
goes to the sky, does like a very weird angle thing, like they just like do, and he just like keeps seeing it, and then it just like the way it cuts, it doesn't give the same effect that it does in the panel. I have seen the panel. It's just kind of funny how it's set up in the anime, how long he goes back,
and
how
also
quick
great
it is.
Too is that it's a bazooka, but it's like so fast. Typically the bazooka, he throws his hands like this, but it's so fast that it just looks like he hits him with his body.
Yes, I feel like the anime portrayed it a little bit better because you do see this scene right here. You don't like right there with the jet bazooka in the manga. You don't see his hands connecting.
Yes,
to
you
the
don't see
blow.
his hands connect. Right.
He hit him, but he's so fast with it. Jet bazooka is just the eye can't keep up. I think the anime did it a little bit better, where they show you the speed as well. Because I
Yes,
remember
they show you
that
the speed.
scene.
They show you the speed.
Because
It's really good. It's really
That was, I knew that hit. I knew that hurt Blueno.
Yeah. And so he's like, and what's great is like he's still standing after. And this is kind of like gets to Kame Chris's point. And it's probably like once again shows Oda's storytelling prowess and kind of his ability to just continue like holding the pace like in the palm of his hands at all times. You know, Luffy's like, you're pretty sturdy because he's still standing. I might have to show you my next move or something like that. And then Blueno falls.
He says like, gear. He says gear.
Yeah.
Dot.
Interesting. So
yeah,
good.
he bites it. He's about to bite his thumb, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like it's the same. It's the same like episode. So it's like,
yes, it's the same, right?
So that's what I'm saying. Like it didn't. I was like, wait, there another form. Like, come on, bro. Like what? Like what did he go under? Like what training did we really do on this train? Because I don't remember this.
The thing is,
it's not training.
It's an idea.
It's an idea. He's a natural fighter. Two,
genius fighter.
Two.
Well, yeah.
Well, he's. I hate to say it. The gum fruit is only limited by one's imagination.
Stop. Enough.
Oh,
Enough.
God.
Enough.
That's literally what this is. Luffy says, I can't keep up with these guys. I need to be able to move faster.
Well, the thing is, Luffy also hasn't been challenged since like Crocodile. You know, it's been a long time since he's really been challenged. And it's like, I think he's like, it's almost like he's leveled up. It's almost like in a video game where it's like, it's been so long. You've been like playing for so long and you've gained all this experience, but you forgot to go to your skill tree and like level up a bunch of abilities. That feels like what Luffy's been doing. He's been gaining all this experience.
Well, that's not clear, just like his intelligence level, just like a lot of other things. So I'm not
intelligence level, we will leave it alone.
Okay, you can admit though, Luffy is creative. Despite his intelligence level, he is actually very creative. I would
give him a combat genius, but also low IQ.
I would give him combat genius with low IQ. I think that's very accurate.
But also too, Luffy has a very good idea of how his devil fruit works as a paramecia type.
So none of you think that's an ass pull for them to do a gear 2 and then literally flash the next gear when this is like when everyone just said this was like Super Saiyan reveal.
No, I don't think it's not like that's why.
Okay. Yeah, gear 2 itself is not the Super Saiyan form. It's more or less the concept of Luffy. Luffy has, throughout all of One Piece up until now, it's just been gum, whatever the hell my mind thinks up of. Gomu no fireworks, bazooka, flail, golden rifle. Right now, this is something where Luffy gained like a new ability. This changes the game with how he fights because he literally either turns into gear 2 or he does the other thing, which we'll save for
I think you're giving Oda too much credit here, and I'm only going to say this because later on we get into very good specifics of certain things and how they work. But for this, they could not have all we needed was like 5 minutes of Luffy explaining the gears, but he didn't do it. We could say it. He doesn't do it once in the series. He doesn't do it not one time. Not one time. We still don't have it.
Okay.
So wait. How the gears work?
No, he's saying as far as how did Luffy come up with the concept?
The concept.
How did Luffy?
Okay.
So he could. Yes. So that could have at least been explained, and it wouldn't just felt like they just pulled this out of his ass. Like, oh yeah, rubber gear. Like what is? Because remember we had a whole debate, and I remember we had this debate in our like debate team group chat, and it was pretty much us trying to figure out like, oh, is he going to go to gear 5, gear 6? I was like, well, I would say, oh, like car gears, I'm going to assume. If we would have avoided a whole debate if that was just clear, literally. And they just pulled it out, and then they're like, gear 2, oh, the next one. Oh, the next one. You're like, wait, where is this coming from? And we don't see a different one until way later after you see 3.
I'm going to say this.
Wait, there's no gears after 3? What do you mean?
I'm going to say this.
3.
Later on, yes, foreshadow, they do a better job at explaining where the concept and the idea comes from. I will say they don't necessarily do it here, which is it, but it's fine because I want to say this is not equivalent to Super Saiyan, or it's not your typical anime transformation either, because Super Saiyan and things like, you know, Naruto One Tail mode, or, you know, any other time the chakra was seeping out, those were all unplanned. Those were all like transformations that did not happen by choice. Those transformations happened by circumstance.
With hella explanation about every single one of them.
Yes.
Every single transformation gets a very strict breakdown.
But
Luffy's, we get no
here's what's better about the writing here is that it is in itself in a, you know, the Super Saiyan transformation. However, it was chosen by Luffy. But then Oda takes it next level and says, oh, I also have Super Saiyan 2 right here, ready to go, you know, which has never been done before as far as the transformations go. It's always been a build-up. He says right off bat, I got two for you.
I think it's the idea. Like, it's kind of like, unfortunately, what you said. You're only limited with the fruit by your imagination.
Yes, Luffy is creative.
Luffy is creative. He lost to Aokiji, and he recognizes that. He knows that there are people that are way stronger than him out there. So in his mind, he's from Aokiji, because from Aokiji, you get everything in Water 7 and, you know, all the mess with the train and whatnot. From there, it's like Luffy knows I need to do something else besides just making a new weird move, like with my fist, throwing it around or spinning it around. I need to do something different. And I feel like that's when you learn something about him, and that Luffy adapts. He got his ass kicked by Aokiji, and he's like, all right, I got to do something different this time. I can see why some people might consider it an ass pull, because when did he learn that? Where did it come from? That literally came out of nowhere. Gear what? Where? When?
And it's not
How?
like he says it one time, like he says it like every time he fights. So it's like, where did he get this from? Like, and I swear we talked about this for so long, and like why that had to be a debate, I don't know. But I thought the main, like, it was kind of like, oh, it's a car, but then we were like, no, it could be 1,000 things, and it just, you know, like, it would make sense for it to be clear here. So I think it was kind of I'm going to look more into the time period and see what the competition was as far as like how, you know, what other animes were doing or whatnot, or mangas at the time, just to see like why they didn't go into the depth that they could have. Because there's got to be a reason.
So
I think it's just pure artistic choice.
I don't know. It gets to be clumsy.
Sometimes
Oda doesn't explain any of Franky's abilities. I agree. I think this is just Oda being Oda. It's like, Luffy lost a Aokiji, and he wanted to, you know, not just come up with a new move. He wanted to come up with like a new like tactic, like like whole nother like place he could level up to. And I do think that's just kind of Oda's thing. You know, it's just like he hinted at it, where I think Luffy's been talking about like a new thing he wanted to try out for at least like a handful of chapters. So it's been kind of teased, but you know, Oda's not, generally speaking, unless it's something really big, like a concept that comes up in the one of the next couple sagas, that everybody can use. But I think just for like this individual, like Luffy, he's just like, I think he like, sometimes he thinks something's cool and he just goes with it. And I think he thought this was cool. I think this was the closest thing he could do to like a Super Saiyan. I think we've talked about how wanted posters have been used as like Oda's versions of like power levels. I think this is like, you know, Oda's own version of like, it's Super Saiyan's like 500 times more iconic. So I don't even want to like say it's like on the same level, but like, I think this is Oda's version of it. This is like the main character entering a different form, the classic anime trope.
I'm going to hold you all to that, because there's something later. When it gets there, I can't wait. But when it gets there, I'll bring it up, that on how that really gets thrown out the window when we get that new concept that everybody can do.
Got you.
Sure.
Yes. Remember it. We'll get there in probably a couple months. But we'll get there. We'll get there when we get there. But yeah, Luffy ends the fight with a jet bazooka. And right then and there, we know it's possible for Luffy and the Straw Hats to save Robin. I mean, you know, reading a shonen, they are gonna save Robin, but in the back of your mind, you're asking yourself, they lost to these guys literally 15, 20 chapters ago. What's different now that they're gonna kick their asses? Luffy beating Blueno is significant because now it shows, wow, they have a chance. They have a chance to get this girl back. And the next scene is iconic. We're not gonna get into it now. It's because to get into it, we gotta cover another character's backstory.
I got it. Just end it right here.
Hold on.
No.
Wait.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Where do you
I
want
know how to end it. What is it?
I think we should get to the drawbridge.
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
The drawbridge, just to the drawbridge.
No, I'm going to end it
We're
right
so
here.
close there. We're right there.
Yeah,
Luffy.
yeah.
This is
Because there's other. No, Luffy steps up on the thing, on the green thing right behind Dr. Jace's head,
right
and
here.
he
Right
utters
here.
these final words.
This part.
He says, "Robin!"
Ew.
Cut it. Right.
Okay,
there.
wait.
No, he doesn't. That's not all he says.
Let me-
Yes,
Yeah,
it
that is what he says.
is.
He
No,
calls
he
out
says-
Robin's
he said-
name.
He
No,
says,
that's good. That's good. Can I
Robin,
do
we're
one
coming
more? Can
to
I do
get.
one
We're here
more?
to get you.
All right, same thing.
There we go. All right.
Wait, can I do one more?
If it's like 20
Right there.
seconds.
Okay.
No, 10 seconds.
Okay, here we go. Luffy like says that, and he's like, "Yo, I'm gonna come to Robin." Starts to launch himself, and then Robin says, "I have it open right here."
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Robin's like, "Go home. I don't even want to see your faces anymore." Franky's like right there, is like, "Huh?" And Robin's like, "Why did you come to save me? Did I ever ask you to come?" And then like they showed the panels of like Sanji and Zoro and Chopper and Nami fighting to kind of get there. And then Robin says the dreaded words, "I just want to die."
See you guys next week for for part 3.
Literally.
Any
Part 3
final
or 4?
thoughts? Part 3. I feel like you could end it with part 3 because part 3 is just Robin's
Are you-
backstory, the CP9 discussions before they went off to fight,
Oh my gosh.
the CP9 fights, the epilogue afterwards. I mean, there is a lot. It's
We
probably gonna
can
be-
do it in 2 hours. I think the biggest thing is whether or not we include post Enies Lobby in the
I
conversation.
think
That'll be
you
big.
have to.
You
'cause,
have
You
to.
like,
can't do
I-
you can't do it in 2
I feel
hours.
post Enies Lobby could be its own thing because
You can't
post
do
Enies
post
Lobby,
Enies Lobby.
you forget where post Enies Lobby actually ends. It doesn't
it's just
end
garb.
in Enies Lobby.
It's just garb.
And there's
No.
10
It's
there's
not.
like-
It's Ace.
there's 7 significant moments at the end of Enies Lobby.
All
Like,
right.
The final bit of post Enies Lobby is Ace, and I'm gonna leave it with just Ace. And that's a lot
Fine.
right
That might
there.
that
There's
might be
so
a part
much.
4 then. It might be
Yes,
a part 4.
That I think it should be.
Potential. So part 3, we got at least next week. You guys tune in next week. You got the CP9 fights at least. So if you were just gung ho for the CP9 fights, get ready for next week because that's coming around that time. Any final thoughts for this portion? I know GrandMasterHoop really liked the train sequence with WANZE and everything that happened there. But any final thoughts before we close out?
Just it's a transition. The transition was good, even if it was my worst part. I'm not saying it was bad. It was just my least favorite. But I'm gonna save my last words last to close out because I know the perfect way to close this out.
Ooh, okay.
I think I'm gonna close it out, so I'll go last.
No, I'm
I'm
going to
just
close
kidding.
it.
But he's an
I'll just
admiral.
go because
He's
I
an
don't care.
admiral.
I'm not going last.
I'm just kidding. I'll just say that. Oh, wait, Kame Chris, were you gonna go?
Yeah.
right,
I was
how
gonna
about
say. I think this was like really the big the heart exploding moments you get, like first real like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting at every given moment because you finally have the Straw Hats. Like I think this was like the first big you know, like big, oh, we got like this team, we have this pirate crew, we have 60 other people helping us, and they get on the Enies Lobby and it's just like a fight, and this is like one of the first big wars, and it was just amazing. I just really enjoyed, you know, like seeing so many Straw Hats with like so many like different crew members and all the jokes still going on. Like I feel like this was just so like this was the start of really just One Piece formula of how like the war arc goes. So I think this was like kind of just that big first heart explode for me. A lot of emotions as
A
well.
lot of emotions.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback off of that. Like, I enjoyed this raid so much more, I think, than I did the last time I read this. Like, I think the first time I read this, I wanted to get to like the really big fights, and then just kind of seeing this one kind of like play out, just like of them like attacking all the team ups together, just how they're like running through these different people. It's a pretty cool raid sequence, you know, the overall Enies Lobby beginning portion. And then I'll just say that kind of what I was thinking about earlier, how, you know, you're just watching Robin continue to fight like her will to live. It's just like deep down, she clearly wants to be a crew member. Clearly deep down, she wants to continue traveling with them. But like, she's like really trying to force herself not to feel that. And you kind of see it when it's like all the crew members, I want to say, it's like, you know, Sanji going after her, like Usopp saying, trust in Luffy, you know, all these different moments where they're kind of like,
Oh wow,
Robin,
we missed that
hello.
scene.
Huh?
The Usopp telling Robin, trust in Luffy.
Yeah,
That was
I
a
thought I
big-
mentioned it. It was great. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I
No,
thought I
it
mentioned
was. I really liked it.
Yeah, so it's like all these moments just feel like they're chipping it away at like kind of like the conclusion she had come to, and it just like you're just seeing kind of like where it's leading and where the climactic moment's gonna like really explode out of her. And I think I've noticed that a lot more in this read through because it's just so good. Her arc in this, like you think it's just like she decides to go with CP9, she stays with CP9, and then she like obviously has her epiphany that we'll get into next week. But really it's like this like little small moments of the crew showing how much they care about her, and you kind of see her begin to get to that climactic moment, that epiphany moment. And I think that's been cool.
All right, Grandmaster. You
No,
geared
do
us-
the
the
spiel.
bit?
Do the spiel.
Okay. Well, that's where we are almost ending this week's episode of One Piece Chronicles. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms. Give us a listen. Give us a shout out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, at the Yonkō Table. And if you want to see our lovely faces, check out at DrJaceAttorney on YouTube to see the video portion of this episode. And to join the discourse on these discussions, join our Discord. Link to that in the description box down below. Grandmaster Hoop has been gearing up for his gear second right now, so take it away. What are we ending on?
Sogeki no shimate umoreto ore wa hayu pasu hayu kachu lulu la la lu. Just all right. There you go. Little Soge King. Goodbye.